Chapter 3066. It's controlled by these big forces. If you want to barge in, you might have to pay with your life. Are you sure you dare go? Baime Sanron, who had explained the situation of the Grotto Heaven, did not show any fear. I'm not afraid, but I need to understand that if I can escape unscathed, it's meaningless to send myself to death. After Yishang said this, he continued to ask, Senior, the teleportation array in the Grotto Heaven can be used at will. After entering, can you teleport out at any time? You can teleport in and out, but the teleportation array outside has no handle. There are people guarding the teleportation array inside. It's very difficult to enter or leave. Baime Sanrin continued to explain. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow smiled and said, Since we can enter and leave, there's nothing to worry about. Senior, let's go. Oh, you don't want to reconsider? Baime Sanrin asked with a smile. As for the matter of entering the Grotto Heaven, he was more willing to leave it to fate. There's no need to reconsider. Senior, let's hurry up, Knight Sorrow said with certainty. He felt that the two of them were already late, so they had to hurry up. Otherwise, they would not be able to make it in time. Before entering, Knight Sorrow summoned back the restriction-breaking hammer and carried it with him. As for Little Seven, he was left outside to take care of the other people in the realm of the gods. Let's go. Let's go to the teleportation array. There's a fortuitous opportunity inside. At this time, there might not be anyone guarding the other side of the teleportation array. This is the best time to enter, Baime Sanren said as he brought Knight Sorrow to the teleportation array and stood on it. After Knight Sorrow took out the divine crystal to activate the teleportation array, the two of them were immediately teleported to the Grotto Heaven. The three Grotto Heavens were a space that was independent of the 3,000 small worlds. This world was not like the 3,000 small Grotto Heavens, where each of them was so small and cramped together. The three Grotto Heavens occupied a vast space. The three Grotto Heavens each had their own large territory. They formed a tripartite balance of power. The place where Knight Sorrow and Baime Sanrin landed was the only public area in the small world. It was located at the intersection of the three Grotto Heavens. The moment they landed, Knight Sorrow's pupils shrank. Every territory of the three Holy Lands had sent people to guard this place. After a quick count, he found that each territory had sent out 5 supreme beings to guard the area. Who are you two? Do you know where you are? Get out of here. In the instant that Knight Sorrow's pupils constricted, the paragons of the three Holy Lands appeared one after the other, followed by Baime Sanrin. A half-step earthly sovereign from the Tianshao territory immediately scolded. In fact, if not for the fact that Baime Sanrin had given him an unfathomable feeling, he would definitely have attacked. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow and Baime Sanrin looked at each other and moved together. He directly attacked. To them, 15 supreme martial artists was not an undefeatable force. How dare you? Attack! Kill all of them! The half-step earthly sovereign from the Tianshao territory, Mo Tianyun, roared furiously. The people from the celestial extinction territory and the life extension territory also attacked. At this moment, Mo Tianyun transmitted his voice, Sir, there are intruders. Their strength should be above mine. We may not be able to deal with them. Should you come back and deal with them? Hold them back. This time, the opportunity from the heavens is different. If I'm not wrong, there will definitely be treasures that have never appeared before. I can't leave now. The 100 Spirits Territory's supreme being from the Tianshao territory replied. This time, there were obviously more good things than before. He had no time to care about anything else. Yes, sir. I will hold them back with the people from the other territories. Mo Tianyun replied and attacked with the others. Mo Tianyun's target was Knight Sorrow, who was fighting with the 6 supreme martial artists. In his opinion, Knight Sorrow had just entered the supreme being realm and would definitely be easier to deal with than Baime Sanrin. However, he and the other supreme martial artists fought with Knight Sorrow for a while. Mo Tianyun completely felt that something was wrong, because even if he and the others joined forces, they were still no match for Knight Sorrow. They were constantly defeated. Mo Tianyun roared angrily. Who knows who this supreme martial artist is? He seems to be the Knight Sorrow who defeated Mu Tianai in the battle for Providence. I didn't expect him to have grown to such an extent. One of the supreme martial artists replied. He was also guessing, but he guessed right. Hearing this, Immerse frowned and said coldly, Knight Sorrow? What Knight Sorrow? Not to mention that he stole the providence of the Tianshao territory, and he's still scheming for the opportunity from the heavens. I want you dead. While roaring, Immerse suddenly took out a long sword from his sleeve. This long sword immediately let out a beast-like roar when it was taken out. And when this long sword was taken out, the other cultivators who used swords all lost control of their swords. At the same time that Immerse slashed his sword at Knight Sorrow, he transmitted his voice to the two leaders of the terminating immortal territory and life extension territory. This kid is Knight Sorrow. Since it's from the divine realm, let's destroy it together. I also want to help you, but this opponent of mine is too strong. I'm afraid he already has the strength of an earthly sovereign. Zhu Wuchen, the leader of the extreme immortal territory, said unhappily. As for Ming Ming, the leader of Ming Yan's territory, he was suppressed by Baimei Sanren to the point that he could not even speak. Good sword. Facing Immerse's long sword, Yishang shouted loudly. He could tell that the long sword in Immerse's hand was a genuine earthly sovereign divine weapon. Its grade was even above the golden heavenly halberd. However, the hardness of the golden heavenly halberd was not inferior to an earthly sovereign. Hence, he was naturally fearless. He used the Qin Xian godly spear technique to resist it. After this battle, Knight Sorrow realized that he had become an earthly sovereign. It was much easier for him to face a half-step earthly sovereign. Although his opponent had used an earthly sovereign divine weapon, it did not give him much pressure. Becoming an earthly sovereign is really different. No one below earthly sovereign should be my match. In the battle of 1 against 7, Knight Sorrow suddenly felt invincible. Then, with his own strength, he completely suppressed Immerse and the rest. Looks like you can't stop us. After suppressing everyone, Knight Sorrow looked at Baimei Sanren's side. His side was also in a one-sided situation. The earthly sovereigns guarding the pass were no match for them. However, the earthly sovereigns of the 3 holy lands were still difficult to deal with. After fighting for a long time, Knight Sorrow and Baimei Sanren only killed 3 of them. At this moment, Immerse transmitted his voice to the 100 Spirits Territory's sovereign again. Sir, we can't stop them. A few of us have already been killed. What should we do? Ignore them. The 100 Spirits Territory's sovereign of the 100 Spirits Territory replied and did not say anything else. Clan. Chapter 3067. Ignore them. Tianshao Territory's 100 Spirits Earth Sovereign responded. Immerse immediately understood that the fight for the treasure this time would be very intense, much more intense than he had imagined. Since he was running anyway, he flew directly toward the location of the heavenly opportunity. He thought to himself, no matter how strong the two of you are, you won't have the ability to overturn the situation when facing the 3 earthly sovereigns of the major territories. After Tianshao Territories, Immerse escaped. The people of Immortal Extinction Territory and Life Extension Territory also fled in all directions. They escaped. Forget it. Don't chase. Let's go straight for the opportunity. Baimei Sanren had the upper hand in the battle just now, but he did not kill anyone. The 3 people who had been killed had all died at Yishang's hands. Seeing that Knight Sorrow was about to attack Immerse, Baimei Sanren advised him, if you don't kill the snake, it will be in trouble. After Baimei Sanren's advice, Knight Sorrow, who could have killed Immerse in one blow, did not attack. He was giving face to his seniors. However, although they did not chase after Immerse, they went the same way as him and quickly passed by him. The heavenly opportunity caused a huge commotion. There was no need for Immerse to lead the way. Knight Sorrow and Baimei Sanren could also find a place to fight for the opportunity. When they reached the place, the two found that the heavenly opportunity was at the top of a mountain covered in dense fog. There were about 100 people present at this time. Looking at their clothes, they should be people from the three holy lands. Among the opportunities that fell from the void, there were heavenly sovereign rules and essences. These essences decreased very quickly and were very difficult to capture. This was because these heavenly sovereign rules and essences had all turned into the shape of animals. They looked like spirits that could dodge by themselves. At this time, the 100 cultivators present were all capturing these spirits. Heavenly sovereign rules and essences. They are heavenly sovereign rules and essences. If you can get some, you can quickly recover to the earthly sovereign level. Seeing the heavenly sovereign rules and essences floating in the void, Baime Sanrin's eyes immediately lit up. Then should we just go up and snatch it? Night Sorrow said as he observed the situation. At this moment, the people from the three holy lands were all trying to capture the heavenly sovereign's law and essence. As for the spirits formed from these rules and essences, as long as they landed on the mountain, they would fuse with the earth. It hadn't always existed. If they were to make a move now, the supremes of the three territories might not necessarily pay attention to them. However, it was still very dangerous for the two of them to face more than 100 supreme martial artists. Men die for wealth. Birds die for food. Let's go. Let's talk about it later. After all, there are only 3 earthly sovereigns here. The others are not much of a threat to us. You don't know how hard it is to obtain a heavenly supreme's laws and essence. Baime Sanrin could not remain calm in the face of a heavenly supreme's laws and essence. If he could snatch enough precepts and essences, not only could he recover to the level of an earthly sovereign, but he could also make great strides in the earthly sovereign realm. He felt that it was worth risking his life for the sake of these laws and essences. All right, then let's go. If they attack us, we'll make sure they don't get anything. With Baime Sanrin's words, Night Sorrow also steeled his heart and flew into the void with him. At this moment, although the supremes of the 3 territories noticed Night Sorrow and Baime Sanrin, these 2 uninvited guests, none of them attacked them. They were all frantically trying to capture the heavenly supreme's laws and essence. Even the people from the 3 holy lands could not resist the temptation of these precepts and essences. When snatching, keep a low profile. Once we've snatched enough, we'll retreat. We have to leave before the fight for the opportunity ends. Baime Sanrin immediately transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow when he realized that no one from the 3 holy lands spoke. He knew that if they waited until the fight for the opportunity ended before leaving, it would be very dangerous. All right, we'll leave after we get some gains. Night Sorrow's goal was to snatch the precepts and essences that would allow him to advance to an intermediate sovereign. According to his estimation, this would require him to obtain about 20 fairies. After replying to Baime Sanrin, he flew into the void and tried to capture the heavenly supreme's laws and essences from the periphery. Mo Tanyun, who had just arrived, saw that the heavenly supreme's laws and essences were continuously descending from the void. He was stunned. Ignoring Night Sorrow and Baime Sanrin, he directly rushed forward. In the past, the Grotto Heaven would not descend heavenly supreme's laws and essences like this. What was going on this time? These little things are really slippery. After joining the army of heavenly supreme's laws and essences, Night Sorrow tried to capture them and realized that these fairies were very difficult to capture. He could not help but use the Shintian secret shadow. If he did not use it, he would not be able to catch up to these fairies. At this moment, the people from the 3 holy lands were all frantically capturing the fairies and did not have the time to pay attention to him. Thus, no one noticed that he was using the 9 Mysteries territory's remarkable ability. After about an hour, Night Sorrow successfully captured 7 fairies. In terms of numbers, he was ahead of Baime Sanrin. At this moment, Baime Sanrin had captured 5. Brother Night Sorrow, good technique. When we escape later, I'm afraid none of them will be able to catch up. Baime Sanrin, who glanced at Night Sorrow, laughed, and joked. Then, he continued, let's each capture a little more before we leave. The Heavenly Supreme's laws and essences are descending more and more. I'm afraid it's going to end soon. Okay, I can leave at any time, Night Sorrow replied, and continued to chase after the fairies. However, at this moment, some special fairies suddenly descended from a void. Originally, these fairies were all sky blue. The new fairies that descended were pure gold in color and emitted a bright light. They looked very dazzling. The rules and essence they contained were obviously not something that ordinary fairies could compare to. However, only 10 of these little sprites would descend at a time. When the 3 earthly sovereigns saw the golden fairies descending from the sky, they stopped chasing after the blue fairies. Each of them picked a golden fairy and chased after it. For earthly sovereigns like them, the heavenly sovereign's rules and essence was the best way to increase their strength. Their importance was self-evident, and none of them were in the mood to deal with Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin. At this moment, Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin exchanged glances. They both understood each other's intentions, which was to fight for the golden sprite. Let's each grab one and run. This was because a golden sprite's aura was 20 times stronger than an ordinary sprite's. Snatching one was equivalent to snatching 20 blue sprites. Bastard, how dare you plot against the golden fairy? Seeing Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin trying to snatch the golden elf, Yi Zichen was stunned. The Heavenly Owl Territory's 100 Spirits' earthly sovereign was furious. However, after he roared, the golden fairy in front of him had already run a distance away. After thinking for a while, the 100 Spirits' earthly sovereign decided to chase after the golden fairy. However, he roared, the 2 of you are fishing in troubled waters. Don't think that this matter will end peacefully. Clang. Chapter 3068. The Sovereign of the 100 Spirits' holy land roared in a loud voice that shook the heavens and the earth. However, he did not attack Night Sorrow or Baimei Sanrin immediately because the golden elf in front of him was obviously more important than the 2 of them. At that moment, the rest of the people from the 3 Holy Lands saw that the 100 Spirits' land sovereign had no intention of attacking. They continued to capture the Heavenly Supreme's rules and essence. The people from the 3 Holy Lands are really utilitarian. If it were an ordinary person, they would attack even if they had to give up the resources in front of them. They can really endure what ordinary people can't. The 100 Spirits' land sovereign and the rest did not attack. Since Baimei Sanrin was capturing the golden elf, they smiled and sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. They're doing things according to their own interests. After saying that, Night Sorrow continued to track the golden sprite. However, the golden elf's speed was too fast. Evie cannot catch up. Looks like I have to use some tricks. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow immediately used the Divine Vitality Trap array on the golden elf that he was chasing. However, he realized that the Divine Vitality Trap array could not trap the golden elf at all. Then, Night Sorrow took out the Fire Beacon smoke diagram and used it on the golden elf. The moment he used it, it was immediately effective. The golden elf that he was chasing immediately became confused and flew towards Night Sorrow's position. Haha. The Fire Beacon smoke diagram was originally replaced by the Eternal Life Amplification Spear. I didn't expect it to be so useful now. When the golden elf flew over, Night Sorrow immediately captured it. The scene of Night Sorrow capturing the golden elf naturally did not escape the eyes of the people from the 3 Holy Lands. However, the 100 Spirits' land sovereign and the rest did not attack or stop him. At that moment, Baimei Sanrin reminded, they are not attacking. This is obviously strange. They want us to capture the essence for them and then attack us. When I succeed, we will leave. All right, Senior, I will help you. After saying that, Night Sorrow used the Fire Beacon smoke diagram again to trap the golden elf that Baimei Sanrin was chasing. After that, Baimei Sanrin easily succeeded. With this golden fairy, you should be able to advance to Earth Sovereign. Although there were countless resources in front of him, his life was still more important. Let's go. Baime Sanrin beamed with joy as soon as he received the golden elf. He was truly happy. After all, the laws and essence of a heavenly exalt were extremely difficult to find in the eternal exalt world. Almost no one had seen it before. Good. We need to leave immediately. If we leave now, they won't have time to bother with us. The words he had obtained were enough for him to advance to intermediate utmost exalted. Night Sorrow was quite satisfied with such a harvest. He also wanted to retreat in one piece. However, before they could fly far, Night Sorrow suddenly stopped and said, "Senior Whitebrow, let's go back and continue fighting for resources." Why is that? When Baime Sanrin heard this, he was obviously stunned. The two of them were clearly prepared to withdraw. If they took the risk to go back now, the losses would outweigh the gains. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Nothing will happen." Night Sorrow smiled and said to Baime Sanrin. Then, he flew toward the location of the heavenly opportunity again. "Are you really okay?" Baime Sanrin looked at Night Sorrow's back and thought, "The resources in front of us are indeed tempting. It's not impossible to take a gamble." Then, he followed Night Sorrow back to the location of the heavenly opportunity again. When he saw Night Sorrow and Whitebrow, he returned. The 100 Spirits Land Sovereign, who had just captured a golden elf, said coldly, "How dare you? How dare you come back? Do you really think the people of the 3 Holy Lands are useless? That's right. I'm treating you like chickens and dogs. So what?" Night Sorrow replied disdainfully. Then, he continued to capture golden elves. In a short while, he had captured 2 golden elves in succession. As for the 100 Spirits Land Supremacy, he had wanted to use this opportunity to take down Yishang. However, at this moment, more than 20 golden elves descended from the sky. With these heavenly sovereign rules and elves descending, the 100 Spirits Land Sovereign could no longer remain calm. He started to capture them again. As for the earthly sovereigns from the Celestial Extinction Territory and the Fate Yin Territory, they did not say anything. They had been chasing after the golden elves. However, the two of them had already locked onto Night Sorrow and Baime Sanrin's golden elves. Once the heavenly opportunity was over, they would immediately take action. "This time, no matter what, I will not let you leave." After capturing the heavenly sovereign rules and elves, the 100 Spirits Land Sovereign snorted coldly. "Then we shall wait and see," Night Sorrow replied, and began to frantically capture the golden fairies. With the help of the fire beacon smoke picture, his efficiency was about 5 times that of the others. The 100 Spirits Land Sovereign had only captured 1 golden elf, but Night Sorrow had already captured 5. He had also helped Baime Sanrin to capture 2. "Brother, I think we should retreat now. We have already obtained so much. It's enough. If we continue to persist, we will be taking risks." At this moment, Baime Sanrin's heart was pounding. Their gains were simply too great. It was more than the gains of the 3 earthly sovereigns from the 3 Holy Lands. This made him break out in cold sweat. Although he had once commanded the world, he had not yet recovered to the level of an earthly sovereign. Facing the 3 earthly sovereigns and so many earthly sovereigns, he was still a little weak. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "Senior, don't worry. I'm not a reckless person. I have my reasons for doing this. All right, this time, I will risk my life to accompany you." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Baime Sanrin gritted his teeth and said, he could not think of any trump card that Night Sorrow had that could guarantee their safety. However, Night Sorrow's attitude was so firm that he believed him. After that, Night Sorrow and Baime Sanrin continued to capture golden elves. Not long after, the golden elves, who were constantly dodging, were all captured. At this point, Night Sorrow had captured 12 golden elves. Baime Sanrin had captured 5 golden elves. The two of them had captured 17 golden elves. This was more than the gains of the 3 earthly sovereigns from the 3 Holy Lands. At this moment, the void was silent for a while, and no more opportunities were bestowed upon them. No one knew if the opportunities had ended or if they were preparing for a new one. At this time, The 100 Spirits Land Sovereign had completely locked onto Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin. He said coldly, "The two of you are really bold. How dare you snatch the opportunities of our 3 holy lands again and again? Have you lost your mind? This is the opportunity of the eternal, sovereign world. However, it was once monopolized by the two of you. In the future, this will never happen again." Yishang replied coldly as he looked at the sovereign of the 100 Spirits Land. "Ha ha ha. You're really an undisciplined and out-of-control youngster. However, you dare to spout nonsense in front of me. What awaits you is the destruction of your soul." At this time, the earthly sovereign from the celestial lands suddenly spoke. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3069. Someone's soul will be destroyed today, but it won't be me. Night Sorrow said fearlessly as he faced the celestial extinction territory's heartless earthly sovereign. He didn't take him seriously at all. "Brother Night Sorrow, where did you get your confidence from?" At this moment, Whitebrow Wanderer felt a little guilty. He didn't know where Night Sorrow had gotten his confidence from, and he couldn't figure out how he could suppress the people from the 3 holy lands. "Don't worry, the two of us will be safe and sound today." "Oh, if you don't die, then who will?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Yinhong, earthly sovereign from the life evolution territory, asked disdainfully. In his opinion, or perhaps in the eyes of others, Night Sorrow had gone completely crazy. Even the word courting death could not describe him. "At least one of the 3 of you will die. As for who it will be, that will depend on fate." Night Sorrow sneered as he looked at the 3 earthly sovereigns. There was a tinge of pity in his eyes. "The 2 of you, why are you still talking nonsense with him? Hurry up and kill him." The 100 Spirits, earthly sovereign from the sky owl territory, couldn't help but roar as he prepared to attack Night Sorrow. In his eyes, Night Sorrow was just a fly that he could kill with a swat. However, at that moment, a loud voice suddenly came from the void. "100 Spirits, earthly sovereign, please wait." "Who is it?" The voice sounded as if it had been whispered into everyone's ears. The 100 Spirits, earthly sovereign from the Sky Owl territory, didn't even know where the person was and immediately became alert. At that moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the void. It was the Supreme Longevity. However, he was now in the appearance of Feng Wuji. After he spoke, he summoned a large number of earthly sovereigns from the 9 mysterious territory. When Night Sorrow was about to retreat, the Supreme Longevity had sent him a message asking him to come back and continue capturing the Golden Spirits. Otherwise, Night Sorrow, who was very confident in Supreme Longevity, would naturally choose to return. Besides, Supreme Longevity had also sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow and told him some things. Hence, Night Sorrow couldn't leave. "Limitless Earthly Sovereign, it's you. What are you doing here?" Now that the person who had arrived was Feng Wuji, the 100 Spirits land supremacy of the Heavenly Owl territory calmed down. Hearing this, the Supreme Longevity that was disguised as Feng Wuji said, "I'll get straight to the point. The 3 territories have occupied the 3 grotto heavens for so many years. It should be my 9 profound territories' turn." "Feng Wuji, oh Feng Wuji, just based on the strength of your 9 mystical estate, you still dare to challenge our 3 great territories? Who gave you the courage?" Before the Sky Owl territory's 100 Spirit Earth supremacy could say anything, the extreme Immortal territory's heartless Earth supremacy shouted in disdain. "My strength gave me the courage to do so. Today, at least one of the 3 territories will have to leave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Supreme Longevity said coldly after heartless Earth supremacy had spoken. "I think the 9 mystical estate should be the one to leave." Yinhong, earthly sovereign from the life extension territory, also had a disdainful look on his face. In his opinion, the 3 great territories present were all stronger than the 9 mystical estate. There was no need to fear them at all. "Do the 3 of you have the same opinion?" Supreme Longevity looked coldly at the 3 earthly sovereigns after Yinhong had spoken. "So what if we do? Go back to where you came from. I will consider letting the 9 mystical estate continue to be a sacred land. Otherwise, we will kick all of you out. There will only be 3 sacred lands in the eternal supreme world. The 100 spirits' land supremacy of the sky, owl territory, glanced at Night Sorrow and said, "Is the source of your confidence Feng Wuji? Do you think a mere 9 mystical estate can suppress our 3 sacred lands?" These words were extremely arrogant, and everyone in the 9 mystical estate was enraged. The people of the 9 mystical estate had always considered themselves as the 4 sacred lands. Now that they were being looked down upon by the 3 sacred lands, one could imagine how they felt. "You'd better prepare for your funeral." Night Sorrow smiled and shook his head in the face of the provocation from the sky owl territory's 100 spirits land supremacy. After Night Sorrow had spoken, Supreme Longevity looked askance at the earthly sovereigns of the 3 sacred lands. "Since that's the case, then all of you can die here. The 3 sacred land suppression of the 9 mystical estate will end today. Kill." After Supreme Longevity had spoken, the cultivators of the 9 mystical estate all roared angrily. They, who had been looked down upon, were filled with a strong fighting spirit. "Ha! You overestimate yourselves. Just based on your insignificant 9 profound territory, where did your confidence come from?" After Supreme Longevity had spoken, the 100 spirits' land supremacy of the sky owl territory snorted coldly. "Everyone, let's attack together and kill the people of the 9 mystical estate, and that little bastard Night Sorrow. That's right, we can't let that old thing go either. Yes, kill." After the 100 spirits' land supremacy had spoken, the people of the 3 sacred lands were filled with fighting spirit. In their hearts, they had always believed that they were invincible because they had always been invincible in the eternal supreme world. At this moment, Supreme Longevity spoke again. "Night Sorrow, the divine world territory has submitted to the 9 mystical estate. Today I, Feng Wuji, will protect you. In the future, fight for the 9 mystical estate with peace of mind. Yes, Wuji heavenly supremacy." When Yishang heard this, he immediately replied. In fact, Supreme Longevity and Night Sorrow had killed 2 birds with 1 stone by asking the divine world territory to submit to the 9 mystical estate on the surface. First, the divine world territory would be protected by the 9 mystical estate, and ordinary territories would not dare to attack them. Second, on the surface, they were asking the divine world territory to submit to the 9 mystical estate. But in reality, they were preparing to completely control the 9 mystical estate and use the 9 mystical estate as a shell to rise again. They would allow the divine world territory to stand at the peak of the eternal supreme world. Wuji heavenly supremacy? At this moment, the people from the other territories were engaged in a fierce battle. When Night Sorrow called out the name Wuji heavenly supremacy, the 3 earthly supremacies from the 3 holy lands were stunned. They could not believe what they had heard. However, after thinking for a while, they realized that something was amiss. They thought to themselves, if Feng Wuji is not a heavenly supremacy, how could he be so confident? When they realized it, it was already too late. After Longevity Supremacy made his move, he quickly killed the 100 spirits Earth Supremacy of the sky owl territory. The difference between a heavenly supremacy and an earthly supremacy was greater than any other realm. The arrogant 100 spirits Earth Supremacy did not have the ability to resist supreme longevity. What should we do now? The 100 spirits Earth Supremacy was killed instantly. Yanhong Earthly Supremacy from the Life Extension Estate and Ju Xian Earthly Supremacy from the Celestial Supremacy were completely stunned. What should we do now? Of course, we'll kill both of you. Supreme Longevity said coldly as he looked at the 2 of them. Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Human mobile reading website, M. Chapter 3070. Supreme Longevity had no intention of going easy on the earthly sovereigns of the 3 holy lands. This frightened Yin Hong and Ju Xian of Life Extension Territory. Yin Hong immediately begged for mercy. Limitless heavenly sovereign, please go easy on us. Ming Yin is willing to let go of the grotto heaven. As soon as he finished, Heartless Earth Supreme said, the extreme immortal land is willing to do the same. Oof. Do you think the two of you can make the decision? Supreme Longevity said in disdain. Then, he waved his hand and attacked. The pupils of Earthly Supremacy Yin Hong and Earthly Supremacy Zhu Xian shrank when they saw Earthly Supremacy Chong Sheng taking action. Zhu Xian shouted, Feng Wuji, don't think that you're the only one who has become a heavenly sovereign. Zhu Xian also has a heavenly sovereign in Zhu Xian. Even if you threaten me, you won't be able to change the fact that your soul will be destroyed. Supreme Longevity said coldly. Then, he turned Zhu Xian into dust. Witnessing this scene, Earthly Sovereign Yin Hong of Ming Yan's territory was scared out of his wits. He said, Limitless Heavenly Sovereign, Ming Yin is willing to cooperate with Jiu Xian. We'll fight against Tian Shao and Zhu Xian. Oh, do you think you can make the decision? Supreme Longevity Sovereign hovered in the void and looked at Earthly Sovereign Yin Hong, who was in Ming Yan's territory. In fact, he had purposely left Yin Hong for last. This was because he knew that Yin Hong, the Earthly Sovereign of the Fate Yin territory, was the son of the only heavenly sovereign in the Fate Yin territory, Yin Xinglia. Moreover, Yin Xinglia only had one son. Usually, the matters of Ming Yin territory were all handled by Earthly Sovereign Yin Hong. Seeing that Supreme Longevity did not make any promises, Yin Hong nodded. Yin Hong immediately promised. I can make the decision. I can make the decision. Ming Yin is willing to form an alliance with Jiu Xian. Your words alone are not enough. If you can get Yin Xinglia here and make him say something, it'll be better. Supreme Longevity looked at Yin Hong and said with a murderous aura. However, under his control, the murderous aura was weaker. I'll summon my father now. Seeing that there was a chance to live, Yin Hong, the Earthly Sovereign, did not think about anything else. Immediately, he took out a jade talisman and crushed it. After he crushed the jade talisman, a tall figure immediately appeared before the crowd. The figure was Yin Xinglia, the heavenly sovereign of Ming Yin territory. After the two earthly sovereigns had been killed, the battle had stopped. The Supremes of the Sky Owl territory and the Immortal Extremity territory had already given up on resisting. Feng Wuji, you've also come this far, so you already have the capital to discuss and cooperate with me. After Yin Xinglia appeared, he sized up Supreme Longevity and said, Cooperation or war? Supreme Longevity went straight to the point. My only son has already fallen into your hands. Even if my true body rushed over at the fastest speed possible, I still wouldn't be able to stop you from killing him. There's no reason for me to refuse to cooperate. Yin Xinglia's silhouette said unhappily. Yin Xinglia, aren't you looking down on me too much? Whether you agree to the alliance or not. Feng Wuji, will not kill Yin Hong today. Supreme Longevity said nonchalantly. He had no intention of using Yin Hong to threaten Yin Xinglia. Hearing this, Yin Xinglia's silhouette was silent for a while before he asked, Are you confident that you can deal with the person from Sky Owl territory? In a one-on-one fight, I, Feng Wuji, am the most powerful person in the Myriad world. Supreme Longevity replied confidently. He had once been the most powerful person among the tens of thousands of territories. Although he had taken over a body, he was still the most powerful person. However, his outstanding talent had decreased along with the transformation of his body. That's good to hear. Ming Yin territory is willing to form an alliance with Jiu Xian territory. As for the details, you will have to wait until I visit Jiu Xian territory personally. Yin Xinglia said one last sentence before he disappeared into the void. At this moment, Yin Hong felt as if he had just survived a disaster. He cupped his fists and said, Heavenly Sovereign Wuji, I have offended you today. Please forgive me. It's okay. We will be allies from now on. Supreme Longevity smiled and looked at the cultivators from Sky Owl territory and Immortal Sword territory. Phone Wuji will not kill you useless soldiers. Get lost. The opportunity before you has nothing to do with you anymore. Thank you, Heavenly Sovereign Wuji. The cultivators who didn't expect to be spared heard this and flew toward the teleportation array one after another. Supreme Longevity continued. You may be spared from death, but you cannot escape punishment. Leave behind everything you have gained today. Yes, Heavenly Sovereign Wuji. The cultivators from Sky Owl territory and Immortal Extinction territory did not dare to disobey. They obediently left behind everything they had gained today, seeing that they did as they were told. Paragon Changsheng looked at Yin Hong and said, "Take the items. However, Jiuxian territory will join the fight for the resources after this. Of course, I will not interfere." "All right, Yin Hong will accept your offer then." Yin Hong, who did not manage to get much, raised an eyebrow when he heard Supreme Longevity's words. He excitedly kept everything from the two territories. However, he did not have the storage bags of the two Earth Sovereigns, so he did not gain much. After the cultivators from the two territories left, Supreme Longevity called Night Sorrow and Yin Hong before him. "Yin Hong, this is Night Sorrow who won the battle for Providence. I believe you know him. I have calculated before. He is the eternal supreme world's son of Providence. We must work together in the future. Inform the subordinate territories that they are not allowed to go against the God World territories in the future." "Yes, Heavenly Sovereign Wuji," Yin Hong replied after hearing Supreme Longevity's words. However, he still had doubts in his heart. He did not understand why Jiuxian territory suddenly changed their attitude toward the God World territories. "I know what you're thinking. However, going against Night Sorrow is going against the entire eternal supreme world. You will understand in the future. Our future enemies will not only be Tianshao territory and Immortal Extinction territory. There will be even more terrifying opponents. Go ask your father about this matter. He can help you resolve your doubts." Supreme Longevity continued. He knew about the great calamity, but Yin Hong did not. Yin Hong immediately replied, "Yin Hong is willing to listen to Heavenly Sovereign Wuji's arrangements. There is no such thing as arrangements. The opportunity is about to descend. The two of you should go and fight for it. This time, rely on your own abilities. Do not engage in unnecessary fights." Supreme Longevity said and pointed to the void. At this moment, the originally quiet void was suddenly filled with the sound of thunder. In fact, this opportunity should have descended long ago. It was just that Supreme Longevity had used some tricks to conceal it. Genius memorized this site's address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3071. It's Wuji Heavenly Supreme. Yin Hong's mind had already flown to the void when he saw the opportunity. After Supreme Longevity finished speaking, he immediately flew into the void. "Thank you, Wuji Heavenly Supreme." Night Sorrow cupped his fists and bowed to Supreme Longevity before flying into the void with Bai Mei Sanren. "You guys go too. Xuanmo, it's up to you whether the Jiuxian estate can get good resources. Go." After Night Sorrow flew into the void, Supreme Longevity allowed the people of the Jiuxian estate to participate in the fight. After the others flew away, Xuanmo asked, "Wuji Heavenly Supreme, you said that Night Sorrow is the son of destiny of the eternal supreme world. Is that true? You are already an Earth Supreme, while Night Sorrow has just become a Supreme. But if the two of you fight, you will be the one to die. Don't get into a conflict with him. Go." Supreme Longevity Immortal didn't respond to this question directly. He let Xianmu leave after saying that. After hearing Supreme Longevity's words, Xuanmo flew into the void with a complicated expression. After Xuanmo left, Supreme Longevity sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "We will definitely take revenge for the Godly World estate, but the Eternal Supreme World must. We need to keep some talents for our use. Just the Godly World estate alone isn't enough to fight against the fog." "Understand," Night Sorrow replied and continued. You have worked hard all these years. He knew that Supreme Longevity had disguised himself as Feng Wuji and stayed in the Jiuxian estate. He had sacrificed a lot for the future of the Godly World estate. He was a respectable senior. Heaven and earth are in my sleeves. It's nothing. At least in the Jiuxian estate, no one plotted against me. Supreme Longevity sighed and continued. Hurry up and fight for the opportunity. All right, Night Sorrow replied and looked into the void. At this moment, it wasn't just the heavenly supreme laws and essences descending from the void. Instead, it was various earthly supreme level artifacts. Seeing the earthly supreme artifacts descending from the void, Xuanmo and the others were very excited. However, Night Sorrow was a little disappointed. To him, this was nothing. What he needed the most was resources to increase his strength. However, his pupils quickly contracted. This was because Yi Shang had seen the first level of the Eternal Divine Tower in the sky. Just like Little Seven, this level of the pagoda had taken on the appearance of the Eternal Divine Pagoda. However, Yi Shang was able to see its original appearance with the Nightmare Dragon's Eye. This was the top of the Eternal Tower, the 9th level. After locking onto him, Yi Shang transmitted, "Are you on the 9th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower? You can only have the right to talk to me." Upon hearing Night Sorrow's voice, the 9th level of the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower immediately replied with a murderous aura. At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly realized that the 9th level of the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower had an extremely strong murderous aura. This should be the aura of the foggy area. Could it be that all these opportunities came from the foggy area? Upon seeing the murderous aura on the 9th level of the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower, Night Sorrow was puzzled. You're right. The other artifacts here are indeed opportunities that fell from the sky. However, the 9th level of the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower in front of you was brought out by me from the foggy area. However, I'm unable to purify the murderous aura. Use your ability to subdue it and purify it. If I'm not wrong, the real Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower is an ultimate level artifact. If you can collect all of them, they might be of great use in the future. While Night Sorrow was puzzled, Supreme Longevity suddenly transmitted his voice. I see. Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. He felt that this was very likely to be true. He secretly thought to himself that he should ask Little Seven later on what its true strength was after combining the 9 levels into one. However, for now, he naturally had to subdue the 9th level first. Just as Night Sorrow was pondering, the 9th level of the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower suddenly shot a ray of light at Night Sorrow. Upon being hit by this ray of light, Night Sorrow immediately felt a fierce pulling force. This ray of light was obviously trying to pull him into the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower. Trying to suck me in? Not so easy. Night Sorrow guessed that this 9th level should be the same as Little Seven. If it sucked a cultivator in, it should be able to refine them into laws and essence. Naturally, he couldn't let it suck him in. In the face of the pulling force of the ray of light, Night Sorrow immediately released the power of virtue to protect himself. With the power of virtue protecting him, the ray of light formed by the murderous aura was instantly dispersed. What kind of power is this? The ray of light formed by the murderous aura was instantly dispersed. The 9th level of the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower was immediately surprised. Power of virtue. At this moment, Night Sorrow roared and shot the Eternal Life Amplification Spear at the 9th level of the Eternal Supreme Longevity Tower. He had used this move against Little Seven. Originally, he didn't want to use it again. However, it came in handy at this moment. At the same time as he shot out the Eternal Life Amplification Spear, Night Sorrow released the Fire Beacon Smoke Diagram. Moreover, he set up the Divine Essence Trapping Array and the Merit Trapping Array. They completely trapped the 9th level of the eternal, supreme longevity tower, being controlled by the four of them. How could the ninth level of the eternal, supreme longevity tower escape? It was immediately restrained, and the entire tower was fiercely bombarded by Knight Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe, Knight Sorrow discovered that several tiles of the ninth level had been blasted off by this attack. Does this count as defeating you? After succeeding in one strike, Knight Sorrow kept the golden heavenly halberd. However, he didn't retrieve the fire beacon smoke diagram. No, I'm going to kill you. With only the confinement of the fire beacon smoke diagram left, the ninth level of the eternal supreme longevity tower was quickly broken out. This time, he released a large amount of murderous aura towards Knight Sorrow. Brother Knight Sorrow, be careful of this fog. This aura comes from the fog area. It's very evil, and I'm very familiar with it. Seeing this aura, Baimei Sanrin immediately reminded him, "It's okay. I have a treasure to protect me." As Knight Sorrow replied to Baimei Sanrin, he took out the white jade from the space grotto heaven. After the white jade appeared, it immediately purified all the murderous aura in front of him. How was this possible? How can this piece of jade purify all my murderous aura? After the murderous aura was purified by the white jade, the ninth level of the eternal supreme longevity tower had obviously suffered a huge blow. It seems that if I want you to return to normal, I have to completely remove all the evil aura on your body. At this moment, there was still a large amount of evil aura on the ninth level of the eternal supreme longevity tower. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and imprisoned it again. Using the power of merit and the white jade, he began to purify the entire tower. After being purified by the power of merit and the white jade, the ninth level of the eternal supreme longevity tower quickly returned to its original state. It was exactly the same as what Knight Sorrow saw with the sea serpent's eye. Chapter 3072. As the ninth level of the eternal divine tower roared, the evil aura around it was being purified by Knight Sorrow bit by bit. Because he had invested a lot of energy into it, by the time he had completely dispelled the evil aura, the opportunities in the void had been completely snatched away. Several cultivators had obtained earthly sovereign artifacts, especially Xuanmo, who had obtained 2 earthly sovereign artifacts. He was in high spirits. And after the evil aura on the ninth level of the eternal divine tower was completely removed, it said respectfully to Knight Sorrow, "Thank you. You have completely removed the murderous aura around me. I am now my true self. Seeing that you can recover, I am very gratified." Knight Sorrow looked at the ninth level of the eternal divine tower and nodded slightly. To be able to completely purify a divine artifact that was surrounded by murderous aura, he had more confidence in the future. "You have saved me. I will lend you a hand in the future, but there is a time limit." The ninth level of the eternal divine tower made a promise. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow smiled and said, "Enter my space paradise first. After the matter at hand is over, I will bring you to see Little Seven." "Little Seven?" The ninth level of the eternal divine tower asked doubtfully. "The seventh level of the eternal divine tower. I know that you are all a part of the eternal divine tower." Knight Sorrow began to talk about Little Seven and also about Little Seven. "So that's how it is. I didn't expect that the seventh level was not cleansed by the murderous aura." Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, the ninth level of the eternal divine tower sighed and continued, "Since it is called Little Seven, then call me Little Nine." "All right, Little Nine, I will settle some matters first. Enter my space paradise first," Yishang said as he kept Little Nine into his space grotto heaven. Then he flew to Baimei Sanrin and asked, "Senior Baimei Sanrin, have you obtained a divine artifact?" "Hee. Yes, I did. And it's a top-grade, earthly, sovereign artifact." After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Baimei Sanrin summoned an iron rod from his grotto heaven. This iron rod was pitch black and had a simple and unadorned appearance. But after Baime Sanren poured in his god essence energy, the metal rod immediately shot out a multicolored light. Moreover, it was releasing an extremely powerful aura. Good stuff. It was indeed a good item. Congratulations to Senior for improving your strength. The iron rod in Baime Sanren's hand contained a strong fighting spirit. Even if he had no intention of attacking Night Sorrow, he could still feel a strong pressure. Calling him Senior all the time was a little too distant. In the future, I'll just call you Elder Brother. After all, his brother had reincarnated and was no longer the person from back then. Don't be too restrained. Today, he would be able to obtain a fortuitous encounter and escape unscathed. It's all thanks to you. Baime Sanren put away the iron rod and said with a smile, "Good, brother. There's no need to be so polite between you and me. I wonder what your plans are after this matter?" Night Sorrow asked. At this moment, the fortuitous encounter from the heavens should have ended. The two of them were about to separate. This time, I obtained a lot of fortuitous encounters. I'm going to find a safe place to advance to Earthly Sovereign. What about you and your friends? Baime Sanren looked at Night Sorrow and asked, "I'll go see them in a while. Then I'll go with everyone to save 2 people. After that, I should return to the realm of gods. But after returning, I shouldn't stay for long. I'm going to explore the foggy area. I'll try to increase my strength quickly." Night Sorrow replied truthfully. He didn't hold back from Baime Sanren. Hearing this, Baime Sanren immediately became spirited and said, "Brother Night Sorrow, I think you could disperse the murderous aura in the foggy area. How about you bring me along into the foggy area? Firstly, I can borrow your light to recover my strength quickly. Secondly, we can take care of each other. The foggy area is very dangerous." "All right, but brother, how long will it take for you to advance to Earthly Sovereign? If it's too long, I'm afraid I can't wait." Night Sorrow felt that if Yi Shiwen cultivated for hundreds or thousands of years, or even longer, he wouldn't be able to wait at all, because increasing his strength was an urgent matter. Within 100 years, it should be about time. Baime Sanren pondered for a moment before replying. "Then, brother, you should go find a safe place to advance first. When you break through to Earthly Sovereign, look for me in the realm of gods. I'll wait for you for 100 years. After 100 years, I'll set off for the foggy area on time." Yishang said a few words to Whitebrow Wanderer before bidding him farewell. He flew to the vicinity of the Supreme Longevity and said, "Senior, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first." "All right, don't forget about saving people," Supreme Longevity instructed, then called Xuanmo over. "Night Sorrow, Xuanmo, get to know each other. In the great calamity in the future, we'll stand side by side. I hope that you can maintain a good relationship with each other." "All right, I got it," Night Sorrow replied, then looked at Xuanmo and said, "Nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you." Xuanmo looked at Night Sorrow with a complicated expression and said, "Nice to meet you too." Supreme Longevity suddenly said, "These 3 grotto heavens. They originally belonged to Tianxiao territory, Ming Yin territory, and Extremity Immortal territory. Now, Tianxiao territory and Extremity Immortal territory have been chased out by me. The Grotto Heavens and Extremity Immortal territory will belong to the realm of gods in the future. Night Sorrow, come with me to receive them." "All right," Night Sorrow replied. Actually, he wasn't too sure if the realm of gods could protect the Grotto Heavens. But since it was Supreme Longevity who spoke, he didn't say much. Under the surprised gazes of Xuanmo and the rest, he followed Supreme Longevity to the Grotto Heavens that originally belonged to Extremity Immortal territory. After Supreme Longevity left with Night Sorrow, the people in Jiuxian territory, including Xuanmo, were all surprised. They couldn't understand why Supreme Longevity would hand over a Grotto Heavens to an insignificant realm of gods. However, Supreme Longevity was a heavenly supreme after all, and they had absolute confidence in it. They didn't dare to say much and kept their doubts to themselves. The grotto heavens are indeed extraordinary. If the realm of gods can control this place for a long time, in the coming years, there will definitely be a large number of geniuses emerging. After taking over the grotto heavens that originally belonged to Extremity Immortal territory, Knight Sorrow was beyond excited. At the same time, he was very grateful for Supreme Longevity's arrangement. The cultivation environment in this grotto heavens was hundreds and thousands of times better than the realm of gods. Staying in this grotto heavens, one didn't have to deliberately cultivate, and the god essence energy in one's body would increase. It was very mysterious. Are you satisfied with this grotto heavens? Supreme Longevity asked with a half-smile after seeing Knight Sorrow's expression. Clan M. Chapter 3073. Satisfied? Of course. Senior, you've really put in a lot of effort. With this place as a cultivation ground, the realm of gods will be able to nurture a large number of experts very quickly. Knight Sorrow calculated the resources in his hands and the manpower in the realm of gods. He was extremely confident about the future. At this moment, Supreme Longevity continued. I'll stop the heavenly sovereigns. But if the earthly sovereigns come to fight for the grotto heaven, I'll ignore them. I hope you can hold on to it. We'll do our best to hold on to it. When he heard this, Yishang immediately replied confidently. When he took over the grotto heaven, he had already thought of how to do it. Knight Sorrow was prepared to head to the foggy region in 100 years. He was prepared to rescue the 2 deputy city lords before that. With the resources in his hands, he would nurture the 2 of them into earthly sovereigns. This way, the 2 of them would be able to guard the grotto heaven together. In that case, ordinary earthly sovereigns wouldn't be able to threaten the safety of the grotto heaven. Good. It's good that you have this ambition. I don't wish for all of you to depend on my afterglow. That will cause you to lose your drive to improve. Supreme Longevity looked at Knight Sorrow with admiration. What he saw in Knight Sorrow wasn't just talent, but also the determination to rely on himself to move forward. Senior, don't worry. It's not just me. The batch of people who have risen recently in the realm of gods won't have this mentality, Knight Sorrow said. Then, he told Supreme Longevity about Xiao Tianxian and the rest. Hearing this, Supreme Longevity laughed and said, Ho, since you've mentioned them, I can't be too petty. This place is filled with cultivation resources. It should be enough for them to reach the level of earthly sovereigns quickly. You can give it to them, but don't mention me. You're the only one who knows about me. I'll keep it a secret. Right, Senior? You brought the 9th level of the Eternal Divine Tower out of the foggy region. That proves that you've entered the foggy region before. Can you explain the situation inside to me? Since he was preparing to enter the foggy region to raise his strength, Knight Sorrow felt that he should be more prepared. He didn't want to get lost in it. Since the Supreme Longevity had obviously been there before, he naturally had to ask about it. Now that you've asked, I can't explain it clearly in a short time. But you have to remember one thing, and that is that every single blade of grass and tree in this foggy area can kill you. I have an ancient book here. You can read it yourself. It recorded some things that happened at the edge of the fog. The Supreme Longevity took out a book and handed it to Knight Sorrow so that he could read it himself. Taking the book, Yishang glanced at Eternal Life, Supremacy, and said, Senior, I will help you find a suitable body and give you a chance to break through to the Lamita realm. Haha, with your strength, it's still too early to talk about this. And I'm pretty sure that the Eternal Paragon realm doesn't have a body like this. Our only hope lies in the fog. But even if we from the Eternal Sovereign world have some tricks up our sleeves, it will be difficult for us to enter the depths of the fog. Therefore, this is an endless cycle. Supreme Longevity sighed softly. Without a sufficiently outstanding body, he would never be able to advance to the ultimate supremacy stage. That was the biggest knot in his heart. Looking at the Supreme Longevity's expression, Knight Sorrow continued, No matter what, I will work hard. Wait for me, Senior. All right, hurry and go. Hurry and meet up with your friends. Remember, you have to prioritize the divine world before the eternal sovereign world. Before Knight Sorrow left, The Supreme Longevity reminded him. I'll take my leave then, Senior. After communicating with the Supreme Longevity, Night Sorrow headed to the location of the 3,000 grotto heavens in his own grotto heavens to look for the others in the divine world. At that moment, the opportunity above the 3,000 grotto heavens had long ended. There were not many cultivators left in the void. Night Sorrow immediately arrived above the grotto heavens, controlled by Jing Yun, and sent her a voice transmission. Jing Yun, where are you guys? We're in the grotto heavens. You're back? Jing Yun asked uncertainly. Yes, I'm back. How's everyone? Night Sorrow asked in concern. Everyone is injured and not in good condition. They're all recovering in the grotto heavens. I'll come and get you. After saying that, Jing Yun flew out of the grotto heavens and brought Night Sorrow in. When Night Sorrow arrived in the grotto heavens, he was immediately enraged by the situation in front of him. Not only were the people from the heavenly realm injured, none of them had a complete body. It was obvious that every one of them had been severely injured. It wasn't like this when I left. What happened after that? Yi Shang, who had grown bold, asked in a bad mood. After you left, we were still fighting for opportunities in the sky, like how we were when you were here. But suddenly, 3 half-step earthly supremes appeared. They didn't fight for any opportunities and only attacked us. I think they wanted to kill us all. If not for Little Seven, we would have all been killed. Jing Yun, who was in a slightly better condition, said. After all, she was a lower earthly supremacy and was much stronger than the others. Who are they? Or do they have any characteristics? We can't just let this go. Night Sorrow glanced at everyone and asked with a gloomy face. Although none of the people in the divine world had died, they were all in bad condition. This suppressed his excitement of obtaining the grotto heavens. They didn't reveal any obvious characteristics. I only know that there are 2 of them, and one of them is a girl. They are very strong and not ordinary half-step earthly supremes. Jing Yun tried to recall, but she couldn't recall their characteristics. It seems that it won't be easy to find out who is secretly targeting us. Let's not talk about this for now. I've gained a lot in the grotto heavens. Let's distribute it. I'll try my best to help you all become earthly supremes quickly. Then, we'll go and find the 2 deputy city lords. Night Sorrow said and distributed the resources given by the Supreme Longevity to everyone present. After everyone started to absorb the resources to recover from their injuries and cultivate, Night Sorrow started to absorb the Heavenly Supreme's rules and essence. After absorbing, Night Sorrow realized that the Heavenly Supreme's rules and essence were obviously different from the Earthly Supreme's rules and essence. It was very peaceful and comfortable to absorb. However, he couldn't increase the speed of absorption at all. He could only absorb it bit by bit. I can only absorb it so slowly. It seems that I won't be able to advance to intermediate supremacy before entering the foggy area. From the rate of absorption, it was basically impossible to advance to intermediate supremacy in a short period of time. Therefore, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. Instead, he summoned Little 9 and brought it to Little 7. He said, Little 7, look who this is. The 9th level. After seeing Little 9, Little 7 immediately exclaimed in surprise. It was extremely surprised. At this moment, it had many things to ask for confirmation. Clan M. Chapter 3074. After that, Night Sorrow let Little 7 and Little 9 communicate. He listened from the side and heard a lot of things about the foggy area, and some information about the other parts of the Eternal Divine Tower. Little 9 knew the whereabouts of the 3rd and 5th floors. They had fallen into the hands of the 2 Earth Sovereigns in the foggy area. Little 9 had tried to rescue them, but failed. Moreover, the 3rd and 5th floors had become extremely evil. After talking to Little 7 about this, Little 9 begged Night Sorrow, Night Sorrow, Little 7 and I are willing to serve you. Please bring the essence of the 3rd and 5th floors over. Don't worry. After 100 years, I will go to the foggy area to cultivate. At that time, I will do my best to help you. I will strive to merge the Eternal Divine Tower as soon as possible. Night Sorrow looked at Little 7 and Little 9 and promised them. At this time, Little 7 said, "Actually, if you can merge the Eternal Divine Tower again, it will be very good. It will also be good for you, because a complete Eternal Divine Tower is a rare ultimate divine artifact in the world. If a great calamity really comes, it will play a very important role." Little 7 had not seriously said these words to Night Sorrow in the past. But this time, Night Sorrow had purified Little 9, allowing him to see hope. "I will do my best. You two catch up first. I have some things to discuss with my friends." While saying this, Night Sorrow saw Thousand Sword Sect stand up, so he walked over and asked, "Brother Thousand, how do you feel?" "I have basically recovered, but there's an aura of death around the wound. It is hard to erase. I am afraid this will be a big problem." Thousand Sword Sect took off his robe and revealed his chest. There was a wound on his chest that was cut by sword energy, and there was an aura of death suffused with black gas. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe this aura of death. Night Sorrow frowned. "This should be something from the foggy area. I can feel it from the aura. It seems that the few half-step Earth sovereigns who injured you are very likely to have been to the foggy area. They might even have infiltrated our eternal sovereign world from the foggy area." "What?" "It's actually related to the fog." Upon hearing Night Sorrow's words, Master Wan Jin's expression turned ugly. In the beginning, he didn't realize how powerful the death chi was. In the process of healing, he realized that it was very difficult to resolve. "It's all right. I should be able to purify the aura of death. Come, let us give it a try." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he took out the white jade and began to purify the 10,000 Swords Sect with the power of virtue. In just a few moments, the black gas lingering around Master Wan Jin's wound was completely dispelled. "It's really possible. Brother Yi, you really are a man of great fortune. To actually be able to grasp such a heaven-defying technique." The 10,000 Swords Sect was in a wonderful mood now that their chronic illness had been cured. Then he said, "If I'm like this, I'm afraid others are like this as well. Brother Yi, let's treat them one by one." "All right." Night Sorrow nodded. After that, they went to look for the people from the God world. He helped them get rid of their chronic diseases. When he was treating Jing Yun, it was very charming. The process could not be told to outsiders. After everyone had recovered, Night Sorrow did not immediately mention the matter of rescuing the two Vice City Lords. Instead, he let everyone absorb the resources to advance to the sovereign level. About 3 years later, with Yangqing's successful advancement, the people from the God world had all advanced to the sovereign level. At this time, Night Sorrow gathered everyone together and said, "Now, we have successfully completed the first small goal. It's time to rescue the two Vice City Lords." "Yes. What should we do?" After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian asked. Rescuing the two Vice City Lords was like looking for a needle in a haystack. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow said, "The two Vice City Lords should not be in the 3 Grotto Heavens. Although there are more targets in the 3,000 Grotto Heavens, we could try one by one. Now that I can erupt with an Earth Sovereign level attack, the small Grotto Heavens can't trap us." Night Sorrow said, and talked about the cooperation with the 9 Xian territory and the Grotto Heavens. This matter had a great impact on everyone. They were surprised that Feng Wuji of the 9 Xian territory would be so generous to give an entire Grotto Heaven to the God world. Night Sorrow could not mention the supreme longevity, so he did not explain. So, he talked about the calamity and told everyone that he was called the Eternal Supreme World Son of Destiny by Feng Wuji. That was why he was taken care of. In the hearts of the people of the God world, Night Sorrow was originally a person who gathered destiny and fate. This matter was over just like that. "All right, let's go. We will enter the 3,000 Grotto Heavens one by one. Everyone be careful. There might be a battle. But in order to save people, this is unavoidable." Now that Night Sorrow had the strength of an Earth Sovereign, he could break through the defenses of the 3,000 Grotto Heavens. Many of these Grotto Heavens were ownerless. For such Grotto Heavens, after Night Sorrow broke through, the people of the god world would naturally recognize him as their master. And if there was a master, they would basically encounter a battle. Now, Night Sorrow and the many sovereigns of the god world were all existences in the grotto heavens. Moreover, the god world was now in an alliance with the Nine Shin territory and Life Extension territory. They were still enemies with the other territories, so they did not care who the other party was and continued to attack. It took about 10 years. They had successfully swept through 107 grotto heavens and occupied all of them. After discovering that the people of the god world had swept through the grotto heavens, the masters of the other grotto heavens moved out to discuss the matter of alliance, preparing to attack the people of the god world together. Just as they were discussing the matter of alliance, Night Sorrow finally found the two Vice City Lords in the 108th grotto heaven. There were only two people in the 108th grotto heaven. They were the first and second Vice City Lords of the Godworld City. Both of them were imprisoned on wooden stakes in the grotto heaven. Their bodies were thin and their spirits were low. They did not even look like cultivators anymore. Are you the first and second Vice City Lords of the Godworld City? The two of them looked very similar to the first and second Vice City Lords, but Yi Shang still asked a question. Who are you? The first Vice City Lord opened his eyes with difficulty and said in a hoarse voice, My name is Night Sorrow, a descendant of the Godworld City. They're the same as me. Everyone is here to rescue you. Night Sorrow said and condensed his divine origin force to remove the ropes on the two Vice City Lords. In fact, he had already used the sea serpent's eye to observe the two of them. There was no problem with their identities. Not good. Things are difficult. There is something wrong with the ropes. The moment Night Sorrow removed the ropes, the two Vice City Lords' faces changed completely. What's wrong with the ropes? Hearing this, Jing Yun asked curiously. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3075. Once this rope is touched, it will immediately be known to the people who imprison me. They are very strong, and not someone an Earth sovereign can fight against. Let's go quickly. Oh, how many people are there? Could it be the strength of an Earth sovereign? Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. According to his idea, they should wait for the enemy to arrive and take revenge for the two Deputy City Lords. At this time, the first Deputy City Lord said in horror, There are at least 5 of them. Although they are not Earth sovereigns, they should have the strength of an Earth sovereign. It's very scary. The second Deputy City Lord urged, Let's go. Let's leave this place immediately. There might still be a chance. The two Deputy City Lords were obviously very afraid of those enemies. Night Sorrow could even hear the fear in their voices. Originally, he wanted to ask what the other party had done to them. He could only feel that the two of them were very weak at this time. But before he could speak, 5 black-robed people descended into the small grotto heaven. Hee, I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. Your injuries have healed very quickly. Last time, I let you escape. This time, all of you will be left behind to become our nourishment. One of the black-robed people had just descended when he said this in a playful tone. It's the 3 of you. Jing Yun immediately said coldly after scanning the few people in front of her with her divine soul power. 3 of the 5 people in front of her were the ones who had injured them. Are they the ones who injured you? Their aura is indeed extraordinary. However, they're all trash from the fog region. Night Sorrow observed the 5 of them with the sea serpent's eye and immediately realized that they were extraordinary. And he could also see that there was an obvious aura of death and slaughter on them. This aura was purified by him for Lil 9. Obviously, they were all from the fog region. What? They are all creatures from the fog region. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the faces of the 2 Deputy City Lords became gloomier and gloomier. The rest of the people in the realm of gods were all alert. Hee, you have actually discovered the secret. It seems that even if we want to continue to keep you as nourishment, it is impossible. The only female cultivator sinisterly said and then ordered, Kill them all. Originally, they had imprisoned the 2 Vice City Lords so that they could absorb the blood chi from their bodies regularly, to cover up their own murderous aura. At this time, their identities were exposed. They immediately wanted to kill them. If you want to kill us all, let's see if you have the ability. Facing the 5 people in front of him, Knight Sorrow said coldly. At the same time, he took the 2 deputy city lords who were in poor physical condition and could not participate in the battle into the space grotto heaven. He turned to the others in the god world and said, as the saying goes, revenge doesn't wait overnight. Now the opportunity. Good. Take revenge immediately. At the same time, Thousand Sword Master Shao Tianxian transmitted his voice to Yi Shan. When the battle starts, try your best to leave him alive. It's no small matter that people from the fog zone have infiltrated my eternal sovereign world. Knight Sorrow responded, took out the golden heavenly halberd, and attacked the only female cultivator present. It was obvious that the others listened to her orders. A mere lower supremacy dares to behave atrociously in front of me. Die, die, die. The female cultivator, whose voice was originally normal, immediately became hoarse after the battle began. The killing intent in her words was simply through the sky. As for Yi Shang, when he used the sea serpent's eye to take a look, he discovered that the rather delicate face that was covered had already turned into something that was neither human nor ghost. It looked like a zombie that had lived for countless years. I'll leave the others to you. I'll take down this female cultivator and then help you. Knight Sorrow, facing this evil female cultivator, explained to the people in the realm of gods. He directly shot the eternal life amplification spear at her. This move was not Knight Sorrow's strongest killing move. At this time, it was also a test. Your move is only SOSO. Facing Knight Sorrow's eternal life amplification spear, the female cultivator took out a slender needle that looked like a short sword from her ear. This needle was black. After taking it out, the female cultivator threw it out and shot it at Knight Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd. She was obviously not stopped by the eternal life amplification spear. You have some ability. The female cultivator was not affected by the eternal life amplification spear. This was something that Knight Sorrow had thought of. Then he took out the fire beacon smoke diagram and threw it into the void. Then he used the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique to raise his strength to the maximum. After the flying needle shot by the female cultivator was sent flying, Knight Sorrow shot the divine finger at her. Found it. Seeing the divine finger, the female cultivator immediately roared. It was as if she had seen a treasure. Found it? Are they looking for the divine finger? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow was a little surprised. However, he naturally would not relax his attack. Facing this attack, the female cultivator did not dare to continue to be careless. She used her movement technique and wanted to dodge. However, Knight Sorrow's divine finger was not the same as the ordinary divine finger. In the attack, it had the effect of tracking. The female cultivator thought that she had dodged it, but she was still hit. The attack power of the divine finger was extremely powerful. After being hit by it, half of the female cultivator's arm was directly shattered. It is indeed powerful. It can be confirmed that one of our 2 goals has been achieved. The female cultivator who had half of her arm shattered did not care about the pain at all. Instead, she laughed. The other black-robed men who were fighting with the people of the Divine World territory were also very excited. It was as if they had found a treasure. Regarding this, the people of the Divine World territory were somewhat puzzled. However, under such circumstances, they naturally did not have the mood to think about this. They thought that they could just capture the person and ask whatever they wanted. At this moment, the female cultivator's arm could be seen growing bit by bit. Soon, it was completely restored to its perfect state. She sneered at Knight Sorrow and said, "The ability of the fog area is far beyond your imagination. Wait to be captured." She, who originally wanted to kill Knight Sorrow and the others, had changed her mind. No matter what means you have, you can't escape from the Eternal Supreme World today. Facing the arrogant female cultivator, Knight Sorrow glanced at the others in the battle and found that after advancing to the supreme level, their fighting strength had increased a lot. At this point in the battle, they were only slightly suppressed. At this time, while Knight Sorrow continued to fight with the female cultivator, he summoned Little 7 and Little 9 and let them help the others fight. As for the restriction-breaking hammer, its strength was relatively weaker, so he did not summon it. Eternal Devil Tower. After seeing Little 7 and Little 9 appear, a surprise smile appeared on the female cultivator's face again. Obviously, she knew about the Eternal Divine Tower. It was just that the name was different. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3076. The Eternal Divine Tower is called the Eternal Demon Tower in the foggy area. Knight Sorrow murmured when he heard the masked female cultivator call it that. At the same time, he learned that the other parts of the Eternal Divine Tower should be very famous in the foggy area. This way, it would be easier to find. The bad part was that it would be difficult to snatch it back. This Eternal Demon Tower is something that a lord wants. Now, we have found 2 parts at once. How lucky! The masked female cultivator's voice was trembling. She was very excited. Obviously, the lord she was talking about had given a very generous reward. Ignorant. What reward can be more valuable than an ultimate divine weapon? Knight Sorrow disdainfully thought to himself, the masked female cultivator is like this. However, he was not in the mood to talk nonsense with her at this time. He used the Qing Xian godly spear technique to close the distance between him and the female cultivator. Under the interference of the fire beacon smoke diagram, the female cultivator, who was not at an advantage in strength, was quickly suppressed by Knight Sorrow. In fact, the female cultivator had the ability to fight a lower earthly sovereign. However, Knight Sorrow had the ability to defeat a lower earthly sovereign. There was still a gap between the two. After Knight Sorrow attacked with all his strength, the female cultivator realized that things were not going well and did not dare to be delusional. She took out a black paper lamp from Space Hollow. After the black paper lamp was summoned, it immediately emitted a strong, murderous aura. The aura of death instantly covered the entire Space Hollow. Not good. This is the aura of the foggy area. In this environment, you can hold on, but we can't hold on for long. After the aura of the foggy area began to dissipate, Xiao Tianxian immediately said, "Then let's fight." Hearing this, Knight Sorrow reactivated the Treistrimsa battle secret technique. At the same time, he burned the power of his bloodline. The battle intent on his body also reached its peak. Moreover, the power of merit surrounded his body. Under the protection of the White Jade, he completely fought with the masked female cultivator. After Knight Sorrow used all his means, the masked female cultivator suddenly realized that the aura of the foggy area in front of her had no effect on Knight Sorrow at all. She cursed in her heart. At the same time, he thought of a terrifying problem. If Knight Sorrow entered the foggy area, he could disguise himself as a creature of the foggy area and not be discovered. In reality, he would never be lost. You guys, don't worry about the others. Kill this person with me. Thinking of this, the veiled female cultivator immediately called the others to help her. But, hearing this, the others did not come to their rescue at all. After all, they were already in a stalemate with Jing Yun and the others. The realm of the gods was no longer the same as it used to be. His combat prowess had increased by many times. Originally, they couldn't defeat 3 of them, but now they were able to fight 4 of them, and the tribe was at a disadvantage. Captain M.O. Shah, we can't do anything about it. One of the cultivators who had gone to help the veiled female cultivator helplessly replied after a few attempts to break through the encirclement, but to no avail. What do I need you for? Against Knight Sorrow, who was nearly invulnerable, the masked female cultivator Mona had no chance of winning at all. She thought for a moment and immediately chose to leave the small grotto heaven. However, just as she left the small grotto heaven, Knight Sorrow successfully broke through the barrier of the small grotto heaven and caught up to her. In the void, he started another great battle with her. Under Night Sorrow's fierce attacks, Immerse lost all hope in a situation where she couldn't gain the upper hand in terms of strength, speed, technique, and aura. For a moment, she was thinking of how to perish together with Night Sorrow. If it was an ordinary person, she would choose to self-detonate into the fog and brainwash them. However, Night Sorrow was not afraid of the fog at all, which gave her a headache. "You dare to think nonsense while fighting with me? Die!" Soft dragon roar. Seeing that the veiled female cultivator was thinking, Night Sorrow immediately used his most proficient soul attack. This wasn't his most powerful spiritual attack, but it was the most convenient for him to use. Wong. After being roared by Night Sorrow, the veiled female cultivator felt her spirit sea tremble. While she was stunned for a moment, Night Sorrow used the godly spear and directly pierced her dantian. Although the creatures in the fog were corroded by the fog, they were basically the same as cultivators. With her dantian pierced, Immerse immediately realized that the battle was over. However, at this time, she completely lost her ferocity and chose to self-detonate her soul. Without giving Night Sorrow a chance to react, she used the aura of her self-detonation to launch a final attack on Night Sorrow. However, Night Sorrow, who was prepared, would not give her any chance to hurt herself. The moment she chose to self-detonate, she had already used Mysterious Sky's secret shadow and successfully hid in the void. When Night Sorrow reappeared, he found a black crystal floating at the spot where Immerse had self-detonated. This crystal was very exquisite, but it exuded an extremely evil aura. There's something to be said, but now is not the time to study it. After putting away the black crystal, Night Sorrow returned to the small grotto heaven and cooperated with the others in the heavenly realm to fight the remaining 4 foggy cultivators. Not long after, 2 of them were killed. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at the 2 of them with killing intent and said, "I'll give you a chance. Tell me the purpose of your trip, and I'll let you live." Oof. You underestimate the warriors of the fog too much. One of the male cultivators snorted disdainfully and chose to self-detonate. The nearest cultivator, Master Wan Jian, was directly sent flying, causing heavy damage. Yuan Fengshui immediately flew to his side and protected him. Night Sorrow wanted to check on Master Wan Jian's injuries, but he resisted the urge to do so. Instead, he used the white jade and the power of virtue to purify the last foggy cultivator. He knew that cultivators who were corroded by the fog would not choose to compromise, so he chose another method. The eyes of this male cultivator, who was originally filled with only the desire to kill, quickly became blurred. "Brother Wan, how are your injuries?" When a male cultivator's eyes became blurred, Night Sorrow immediately asked about Master Wan Jian's injuries. "I'm fine, I can still talk." Master Wan Jian, who was heavily injured, said, "It's good that you're fine." Night Sorrow confirmed that Master Wan Jian was fine and continued to purify the male cultivator in front of him. As the purification went deeper, the black light in the male cultivator's eyes completely disappeared. What replaced it was a lake of clarity. "All right, you've been washed away from the fog's mark. It's time to return to normal." At this time, Night Sorrow looked at the male cultivator in front of him and said, At this time, the male cultivator was obviously a little stunned, as if his thoughts were a little interrupted. Night Sorrow asked, "You sneaked into the eternal supreme world from the fog. What do you want to do?" Chapter 3077. What is the purpose of sneaking into the eternal supreme world? I am a cultivator of the eternal supreme world. Hearing this, the male cultivator, who was already a little stunned, murmured in confusion. After a few breaths, he fell to the ground, holding his head in pain. "What's going on?" Seeing the male cultivator fall to the ground in pain, Master Wan Jian asked in confusion. It should be that there are a lot of memories in his mind. He's digesting them. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and replied. The facts that followed also proved Night Sorrow's words. The male cultivator fell to the ground to recover for about a quarter of an hour, and then slowly stood up. He looked at Night Sorrow with a calm gaze and said, "I remember now. I remember everything." "Good. Tell me your story first. Then I'll ask you something." Night Sorrow did not directly ask him the secret of coming to the Eternal Supreme World, but let him introduce himself first. They had a good idea. Sigh. "Well, long story." The male cultivator sighed and then said, "My name is Chun Xin Yun, and I'm not from the same era as you. Back then, when the great calamity came, the creatures of the fog suddenly attacked the Eternal Supreme World. In that battle, although we resisted under the leadership of Yin and Yin Hengshi, but in the end, we were defeated by the creatures of the fog. All of us were captured and brought to the fog. Then, the fog invaded our minds. We became their slaves." At this point, Chun Xinyun said in horror, "As for me coming to the Eternal Supreme World this time, I have two missions. The first is to find the person who knows the god's finger and eliminate him. The second is to find a stone coffin in the Eternal Supreme World. The other is that a new round of great calamity is about to come. The attack of the fog is coming again. This time, our Eternal Supreme World will probably be even more miserable than the last time. It's indeed more difficult to fight against. Because Yin Hengshi has fallen, it's difficult for us to fight against those three top existences." Night Sorrow frowned and sighed. Then he asked, "Chun Xinyun, do you know how long it will be before the fog attacks our Eternal Supreme World again?" "Not far. If there are no accidents, it will happen within 10,000 years. Chun Xinyun spoke out his judgment. This was a memory from the fog. 10,000 years is indeed a little short. Hearing the number 10,000, Night Sorrow's heart skipped a beat. To be honest, he wanted to advance to the ultimate supremacy stage before the fog attacked the Eternal Supremacy World. Looking at it now, this was simply too difficult, not to mention advancing to the ultimate sovereign stage. Even advancing to the heavenly sovereign stage in 10,000 years was too short. Those existences are all recuperating. If nothing unexpected happens, they will recover within 10,000 years. Once it recovers, it will return to the eternal Paragon world." Chun Xinyin recalled his experience in the Misty area and said, "However, he could only recall 3 invincible existences, but he could not recall their names." "Let's not talk about that for now. Tell me about the fog zone. I heard that it's very easy to raise one's strength in the fog." Night Sorrow's mind was firm. He knew that time was tight, but he was also very motivated. He no longer thought about the problem of time. Instead, he made up his mind to quickly enter the fog zone with Baimei Sanrin once the matter in front of him was over. He would do everything possible to raise his strength as soon as possible. In the fog zone, there are indeed many ways to raise one's strength quickly. However, the faster one's strength increases, the stronger the murderous aura on one's body will be. In the end, they will become the slaves of several great demon kings. They can use the fog to control cultivators. Therefore, the Eternal Supremacy World cultivators who were captured and brought to the fog zone back then were all controlled by them and became loyal slaves. Chun Xinyin recalled some of the things that happened in the fog zone back then and slowly explained. Hearing him say this, Night Sorrow understood that the fog zone was very special because of the environment. As long as the Eternal Supremacy World cultivators entered, they would quickly lose their minds. Basically, no cultivator could enter the depths of the fog zone. Therefore, they were not guarded against the Eternal Supremacy World cultivators at all. That's a good thing. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded. He felt that this situation was very beneficial for him to sneak in. Then Chun Xinyun continued, "Although there are many resources in the fog zone, it is easy to increase one's strength. However, every resource will be accompanied by killing. In addition, although there are many resources to increase one's strength, however, the level one can advance to have a lot to do with one's talent. For example, I can only advance to half-step Earth Supremacy and can't advance any further." Speaking of this, Chun Xinyun sighed helplessly. Then, he looked at Night Sorrow and said, there are still many things that I know. I will write these things in the ancient book. However, this ancient book cannot be spread out, because the fog zone has sent a large number of cultivators to hide in the eternal supremacy world. If they find out that someone has been purified and restored in the fog zone, things will be very bad. Don't worry, we won't spread your matter. Since you are from the previous era, you should have nothing to do with the Myriad worlds. Come back to the God realm with me. However, for safety reasons, you can only stay in my space, Grotto Heaven. Knight Sorrow glanced at Chen Qingyun and felt that he was lucky and pitiful. Then, thank you for taking me in, Chen Qingyun said, and continued to ask, since you have the ability to purify the fog, are you going to go there to increase your strength? Of course I'm going. Otherwise, when the great calamity comes, if my strength is not enough, I can only be beaten. Yishang put Chen Qingyun into his heavenly abode. Then, together with the others from the God world, they hurried toward the passageway leading to the God world. Hearing that Knight Sorrow wanted to enter the fog zone, Chen Qingyun begged, my wife was also caught in the fog zone back then. If possible, can you take me there and help me save my wife? I know a lot about the fog zone and can be your guide. Good. If I have the ability, I will save your wife for you. In the future, just call me Knight Sorrow. No matter what, you are my senior. Knight Sorrow replied and did not say anything else. His thoughts had already flown to the stone coffin that Chen Qingyun spoke of. He thought of the stone coffin in the forbidden area, but he was not sure if the two were the same thing. After thinking about it, he decided not to investigate. After that, Knight Sorrow and the others encountered many cultivators who were targeting them. These cultivators were no match for them when they met again. Soon, they were swept away by Knight Sorrow and the others. After returning to the God realm, Knight Sorrow began to worry. He was prepared to bring the people of the God realm into the Grotto Heaven to cultivate before entering the fog zone. However, he did not know who in the current God realm territory had already defected to other territories. Clan M. Chapter 3078. Brother Juan, Brother Jean, both of you are seniors in the God realm. Who do you think is more reliable in the current God realm? In the God realm, in Jingyun's courtyard, Knight Sorrow called everyone over and asked. At this moment, he had not released the two Vice City Lords. This was because he was not sure who could be trusted in the current God realm. Hearing this, Master Wan Jin thought for a moment and said, to be honest, who can be trusted in the current God realm? I don't dare to say a single person. I can't even guarantee that my uncle, White Tiger, is trustworthy. As for Jin Xian, he said, I can only guarantee that my grandfather is not a traitor. What about the rest of you? Knight Sorrow looked at Yuan Fengxue, Yang Qing, and the rest and asked. Everyone started shaking their heads. At this moment, Knight Sorrow said, the only people I can be sure of are you, Zhu Feng, and the two Vice City Lords. As for the rest, I can't guarantee anything. This way, it will be a problem who can enter the Grotto Heaven to cultivate. Knight Sorrow did not know much about the two Vice City Lords, but since the Supreme Longevity said that they were fine, they must be fine. Actually, I think this problem is very easy to solve. At this moment, Xiao Tianxian looked at Knight Sorrow and said, let those who enter the Grotto Heaven make a heavenly oath. They must never betray the God realm. That's it. If many people have betrayed the God realm, how can we solve this problem? After Xiao Tianxian finished speaking, Jingyun said sharply, I think if they can turn over a new leaf, we should give them a chance. But this is the only chance in front of us. What do you think? Knight Sorrow pondered for a moment and continued. Some time ago, the God realm experienced turmoil and people were uneasy. It was understandable for some people to seek refuge in other territories. Now that the God world was strong enough to hold its own in the Eternal Paragon world, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to give them a chance to fight back. Then it's decided, I will go and find my grandfather. Otherwise, with just a few of us, we might not be enough. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Jin Xian went to Ping'an City to invite the Golden Crow. The Myriad Sword sect went to look for the White Tiger Sovereign to bring up this matter. Knight Sorrow naturally chose to head to the City Lord Manor to look for the Ancestor Phoenix. He was prepared to tell him about the two Vice City Lords and discuss the cultivation of the Great Paradise. After arriving at the City Lord's mansion, Knight Sorrow did not enter. Instead, he transmitted his voice to the Supreme Ancestor Phoenix in the inn in front of the mansion. Knight Sorrow, you're back. Upon hearing Knight Sorrow's voice transmission, the Supreme Phoenix Ancestor was extremely excited. That's right, Lord Ancestral Phoenix. I am in the restaurant opposite the City Lord's mansion. Please come over for a chat. Knight Sorrow continued to send a voice transmission. He did not want to go to the City Lord's residence and alert the others. Good, I'm on my way. Supreme Ancestor Phoenix appeared in the inn in less than 10 breaths' time. Oh, Knight Sorrow, I didn't expect you to have already become a Supreme in such a short period of time. Upon entering the inn and seeing that Knight Sorrow's aura was already at the Supreme level, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor said excitedly. Back then, he had spent a considerable amount of time to become a Supreme, about 1,000,000 years or so. The current Knight Sorrow had only used a few years to become a Supreme. The harvest this time is great. Not only have I become a Supreme, but Brother Xiao, Brother Wan, and the rest have also become Supreme, Knight Sorrow said and recounted their experience in detail. Of course, he changed the excuse to the Supreme longevity and said that he had chosen to cooperate with Feng Wuji. On the surface, the Divine World Territory had submitted to the 9 Profound Territory. But in reality, the Divine World Territory was still the Divine World Territory. This matter, actually, there's nothing wrong with it. Don't talk about pretending to submit and obtain a great paradise. Even if we really submit and obtain a great paradise, it's not a loss for our Divine World Territory. After all, the gap between us and the powerful territories is too big. We need this great paradise to nurture talents. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor told him not to feel pressured. No matter what, the Divine World Territory did not lose out on this matter. At this moment, Knight Sorrow said with a frown, "Senior, don't worry. Knight Sorrow will not let the Divine World Territory submit to anyone. In time, the Divine World Territory will become the king of all worlds. I am 1,000 times relieved and satisfied with you. You are the same as what Supreme Ancestor Horn said, the Divine World Territory's destiny child. I believe that one day, the Divine World Territory will be glorious because of you." Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor said with relief. Knight Sorrow was a junior that he had personally guided, which made him feel very proud. Then, Knight Sorrow summoned the 2 deputy city lords. He said, "Senior, look who this is." "Oh, 2 deputy city lords. Why are you guys so weak?" The 2 deputy city lords had already used the resources in Knight Sorrow's great paradise to recover, but they were still in a sorry state. Seeing the 2 of them clearly, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor said with a trembling voice, "Sigh, it's a long story. If not for Knight Sorrow, we would probably be imprisoned in the great paradise forever." The first deputy city lord said with emotion when he saw his old friend. "Senior Ancestor Phoenix, don't worry. Not only are the 2 deputy city lords fine, but they will also advance to Earth Sovereign soon. At that time, our Divine World Territory will have 2 Earth Sovereigns. Ordinary territories will definitely not dare to deal with us." "What? The 2 deputy city lords will both advance to Earth Sovereign? What do you mean?" Hearing this, the 2 deputy city lords were stunned, while Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor asked doubtfully, "I obtained a lot of resources in the great and great paradises. These resources can allow the 2 deputy city lords to recover quickly and advance to Earth Sovereign. At that time, the 2 of them will be able to guard the great paradise." After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, he took out some heavenly sovereign rules and essences, as well as other spiritual pills, and handed them to the 2 deputy city lords. Then he took out a lot of earthly sovereign rules and essences and handed them to Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor. Senior, I hope you can advance to half-step Earth Sovereign soon. When the time comes, I'll help you find resources to advance to the earthly sovereign level. Haha, Knight's Sorrow. I don't know what to say anymore. The Divine World Territory is so lucky to have you. When Supreme Ancestor Phoenix Ancestor heard Knight Sorrow's words, he was in a good mood. After the Supreme Longevity, the Divine World Territory was finally going to have a new sovereign. He was really happy from the bottom of his heart. Take it slow. My Divine World Territory will eventually become the king of all realms. Knight Sorrow said with a smile and began to discuss the great paradise with the three of them. When talking about the current situation of the Divine World Territory, everyone was a little angry, but there was no other way. At that time, the Divine World Territory was on the verge of destruction. In the end, the three of them decided to follow Knight Sorrow's instructions. Of course, under their suggestion, the routine was changed a little. That was, not only did they have to make a heavenly oath to enter the Great Paradise, but as long as they stayed in the Divine World Territory, they had to do so. Chapter 3079. If we do this, will there be any opposition? Some people with pride will feel that this is being questioned. After the three of them finished speaking, Knight Sorrow spoke. Some people were determined and felt that doing these things didn't matter. Some people, on the other hand, had fragile hearts. They were all cultivators, so there would definitely be some who were pretentious. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, the first Deputy City Lord said, "No, we have set the requirement, which is for everyone to participate. No one can avoid it, including you, including me. This way, there should be no opposition. If there is, then they are traitors. There's no need to be polite and directly eliminate them." As he spoke, he showed his decisiveness in doing things. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow nodded and said, "Then let the first Deputy City Lord preside over it. With the two Deputy City Lords in charge, there should be no opposition. I'll gather everyone in the Divine Realm Territory and gather them in the Divine Realm City." At this time, the second Deputy City Lord took out a shiny golden token and threw it above the void. When the Deputy City Lord token floated above the City Lord Mansion, it immediately bloomed with endless light. Soon, such light illuminated the entire Divine Realm Territory. When the cultivators in the Divine Realm Territory saw this scene, they immediately rushed to the Divine Realm City. Because the Divine Realm Territory had been sealed for a long time, no one entered the Supreme Space at this time. Therefore, everyone in the Divine Realm Territory returned to the Divine Realm City in a few days. When everyone arrived, the oath ceremony officially began. Just as Yishang and the others had expected, this suggestion was met with strong opposition, but these were all suppressed by the two Deputy City Lords and finally enforced. This forced some two-faced people into a desperate situation. A few of them had completely pledged loyalty to other territories and were completely exposed. Among them, including Supreme Ancestral Dragon, who was highly respected in the Divine Realm Territory. It was very surprising. After these people were exposed, they immediately attacked the two weak Deputy City Lords and prepared to kill them. But Knight Sorrow, Supreme Ancestral Phoenix, and the rest were already prepared for this and easily suppressed these people and killed them all. After killing Supreme Ancestral Dragon and the rest, the two Deputy City Lords began to discuss the matter of the Grotto Heaven with everyone. Knight Sorrow no longer cared about what happened after that. After returning to Jing Yun's residence, he spent a month peacefully with Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. In this 1 month, although he did not cultivate, Knight Sorrow felt that he had become stronger. After that, since he had to wait for Baimei Sanrin for 100 years, he began to absorb the Heavenly Supreme's natural laws and essence. His strength was slowly increasing. When Knight Sorrow reached 70 years of cultivation, he felt that he was extremely close to achieving the intermediate 9 heavens supreme realm. Originally, he wanted to cultivate for a little longer. However, two major events had occurred in the divine world. The two deputy castellans had both advanced to the level of earthly sovereign. To the divine world, this was a joyous occasion. On that day, it was to celebrate. The two vice city lords led the paragons of the god world, including Knight Sorrow, into the paragon space. In less than a year's time, he had killed more than 30 supremes from other territories. At this point, no one dared to come to the divine world to block people. After that, the two vice city lords came to the Grotto Heaven under Knight Sorrow's lead. Knight Sorrow handed over the control of the Grotto Heaven to the first vice city lord. Then, he returned to the divine world and cultivated while waiting for Baimei Sanren's arrival. However, there were still 20 years before the 100-year agreement. Jingyan suddenly woke Knight Sorrow up from his cultivation state. What happened, Jingyan? Knight Sorrow, who was woken up, asked puzzledly. Husband, I don't know how long it will take for you to return from the fog this time. Rather than waiting, I want to try to have a child. Speaking up to this point, Jingyan continued. Although I know that the chances are extremely slim, I still want to give it a try. Have a child? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow thought for a while and said, This is indeed very difficult. That's because our cultivation is simply too high. I know, but if we don't try, we won't have a chance at all. Try, there will always be hope. Jingyan continued with a flushed face. After she finished speaking, Knight Sorrow suddenly felt his abdomen heat up. He directly carried her to the bed and tried. However, after about 10 years, he tried thousands of times, but there was no result. When there were still 10 years before the 100-year agreement, Jingyan said, There are still 10 years. Go and accompany her. The meaning of these words was naturally to let Knight Sorrow accompany Wu Lingfei. She didn't reject Wu Lingfei's matter at all. On the contrary, she sympathized with her. After Jingyan finished speaking, Knight Sorrow was a little silent, not knowing how to respond. In the end, he still had incomparable respect for Wu Lingfei. That feeling was different from when he faced Jingyan and the others, so he was a little conflicted. When Jingyan pulled him to Wu Lingfei's door, Knight Sorrow's heart was quite nervous. At this time, he heard Wu Lingfei say, Come in. Okay. Knight Sorrow, who had never been nervous in any situation, felt his heart beating very fast. Although he and Wu Lingfei had broken the barrier before, a certain image in his heart had always been there. When walking in, Knight Sorrow bit the corner of his lips. He didn't know if it was right to completely break the taboo with Wu Lingfei or Aunt Fei. You're here, sit down. When Knight Sorrow entered the house, he slowly walked into the living room. Wu Lingfei poured him a cup of tea. Then she said, I want the same treatment as Jingyan. The same treatment? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow almost spat out the tea in his mouth. Don't be surprised. It's the same treatment. I also want a child. Wu Lingfei said and pulled Knight Sorrow, who had just taken a sip of tea, into the bedroom. In the following 10 years, when Baimei Sanren came to find Knight Sorrow felt a little unsteady. This feeling was as if his divine essence energy had been completely exhausted. However, he still said goodbye to Jingyan and Wu Lingfei and set off for the foggy area with Baimei Sanren. In order to fight against the experts in the foggy area during the Great Calamity, Knight Sorrow had no choice but to enter the tiger's den. After about 3 years, Knight Sorrow and the others arrived at the edge of the foggy area. At this time, Knight Sorrow let Chun Qingyan out and let him lead the way. The three of them walked into the foggy area step by step. As soon as they entered the foggy area, a large patch of fog appeared in front of them. This kind of fog was very special. Even Knight Sorrow and the others couldn't see through it with the naked eye. Thus, he directly opened the sea serpent eye to check the path ahead. As soon as the sea serpent eye opened, Knight Sorrow's scalp immediately went numb. Clan M. Chapter 3080. After opening the sea serpent's eye, they could see through the fog in front of them. However, at the same time, they could clearly see the many creatures in the fog. In front of them was an inconspicuous forest, but the trees had long been eroded by the fog. As far as the eye could see, they all looked very evil. Every tree had at least one mouth with 2 rows of shark-like teeth in it. At this moment, these trees were eating a huge half-step earthly sovereign owl. This owl looked like an elephant, but it was not. It was as huge as a mountain. Although it kept struggling, it was completely swallowed by the trees in front of them in less than 30 breaths. Not even the bones around it were left. This is a strange forest in front of us. The trees have mouths and fangs. It had just eaten an owl. How should we pass through such a place? After observing clearly, Night Sorrow immediately explained to the 2 beside him. Hearing this, Chun Xinyun immediately replied, "This forest is called the Strangewood Forest. It is everywhere in the fog. We'd better choose to avoid it. This kind of thing will devour anything it sees, unless it is destroyed." "All right, then let's go around it. What do you think we should go first?" Night Sorrow asked while looking for a route to go around the Strangewood Forest. Chun Xinyun pondered for a moment and said, "Since everyone is here to improve their strength, also you have the means to resist the fog. It's best for us to hunt some earthly sovereign beasts or other resources in the area in front of us. After accumulating to a certain extent, we can choose to enter the city in exchange for resources that are beneficial to our cultivation." "I have a question. Is the city in the fog also shrouded in fog?" Baimei Sanran, who had been silent all this time, asked curiously. Their understanding of the foggy area was too little. Every city in the fog is shrouded in a formation. There is no fog inside. In addition, the cultivators in the fog have lived in the fog for a long time. Many people have found the means to see through the fog. About 20% of them can see through the fog. Usually, teams that go out to hunt beasts will bring such people along. Chun Xinyun explained the situation to Baimei, Sanren, and Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow continued to ask, "Senior White Brow, and I don't have the aura of the fog on us. Won't we be discovered if we enter the city like this?" "Huh? How can you not have the aura of the fog on your bodies? It's just that your minds haven't been corroded. In fact, as time passes, there will be an obvious aura of the fog around you. This was something that could not be changed. It's like soaking in fragrant water. You'll definitely be tainted by the smell." While Chun Xinyun explained with a smile, he continued, "However, everyone should be aware that the rules of the foggy zone are completely different from those of the eternal supreme cosmos. In the foggy area, massacres could be seen everywhere. If you don't want to be seen through, you have to be completely unreasonable. If you don't like someone, you can just attack them directly. You will never be exposed." "Good. That's easy." Night Sorrow nodded and continued forward with the other 2. Walking on the ground, they bypassed the Strangewood Forest. After walking for about an hour, they encountered a bewildering beast of the earthly supreme level for the first time. The so-called bewildering beast was a ferocious beast whose mind had been corroded in the fog. They were more ferocious than the ferocious beasts of the eternal supreme cosmos. No matter what they saw, they would take the initiative to attack. This bewildering beast in front of us is called the devouring dragon demonic beast. Although it doesn't look good, it's very terrifying. Everyone, you must be careful when fighting it. Through Night Sorrow's description, Chun Xinyun immediately determined what the bewildering beast in front of them was. When fighting, can you use the power of your spiritual strength to detect the bewildering beast location? Before they attacked, Night Sorrow asked. He could see and use the power of his spiritual strength to detect the bewildering beast location. However, he wasn't sure if the other 2 could do it. Hearing this, Chun Xinyun immediately replied awkwardly, "It seems that only cultivators with the strength of an earthly supreme and above can use the power of their spiritual strength to detect in the foggy area. I can use the power of my spiritual strength to detect things. However, the range of detection is only 100 miles. For the time being, I can't detect the bewildering beast." As Baimei Sanrin spoke, he took out the iron rod from the space hollow. This was the divine weapon he had obtained in the winter. "Brother Chun, enter my space hollow." The two of us will fight this bewildering dragon demonic beast. After Night Sorrow kept Chun Qingyun in the space hollow, he took out the golden heavenly halberd. The bewildering dragon demonic beast in front of them looked a little like a black phoenix. However, it had 2 heads and 1 foot. Of the 2 heads, one was like a chicken's head and the other was like a cat's head. However, both of them were extremely huge and looked very ferocious. Brother Bai Mei, let's do it. It seems to be restricted by the fog and didn't discover us. The bewildering dragon demonic beast in front of them was lying on the mountainside, about 300 miles away from the two of them. After saying this, Yishang and White-Browed Wanderer went up. When they were about 100 miles away, Night Sorrow transmitted his voice, "Let's do it." For ordinary cultivators, 100 miles was not considered far. For earthly supremes and earthly supremes, it was even more so. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he directly shot the bewildering dragon demonic beast in front of them. White-Browed Wanderer brandished his iron staff and struck out. The two of them attacked at the same time. The bewildering dragon demonic beast did not even have time to react and took the 2 attacks head-on. After being hit by Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren, the bewildering dragon demonic beast suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. That roar was hoarse with a trace of sorrow, as if it came from the dark hell. It sounded extremely evil and made people feel very uncomfortable. It was completely different from the beasts in the Eternal Supreme world. Its defense seems to be very strong. Senior, don't hesitate. Let's each use our strongest attacks. Let's kill it before it recovers. After being roared at, Night Sorrow felt very uncomfortable. He roared loudly to dispel the feeling of oppression in his heart. He activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret technique and used the Qingxian Godly Spear technique to launch a storm of attacks on the bewildering dragon demonic beast. On the other side, Bai Mei Sanren waved the earthly supremes in his hand and attacked in a similarly frenzied manner. For a moment, the bewildering dragon demonic beast was completely suppressed. At this time, it was too late for it to escape. In less than 20 breaths of time, it was killed. After killing the bewildering dragon demonic beast, Night Sorrow obtained a black crystal. This black crystal contained rich earthly supremes, precepts, and essence. It was of good quality. Brother Chun, I'll give this black crystal to you. After summoning Chun Qingyun, Night Sorrow handed the black crystal to him. Hearing this, Chun Qingyun said sadly, "It's useless to give it to me. My body has reached its limit and I can't advance to earthly supremes. Brother Yi, you can use it yourself. I can absorb it too." Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it was a waste for him to directly absorb the Heavenly Supreme's precepts and essence at his current level. This was because the Heavenly Supreme's precepts and essence were too rare. He was prepared to change his routine and use the bewildering dragon demonic beast's earthly supreme's precepts and essence to advance to intermediate supremes. Clan M. Chapter 3081. In the foggy area, the sea serpents I could suppress the enemy first. Therefore, it was very easy for them to kill earthly supremes. Moreover, if they cultivated in this way, their foundation would not be affected much if they advanced to middle supremes. This was because Night Sorrow had already absorbed enough heavenly supreme precepts and essence at the lesser supreme level. How is it? Are the earthly supreme rules and essence in this foggy area different from the eternal supreme world? After Night Sorrow finished absorbing and got up from the ground, Bai Mei Sanren immediately asked. Now, they were basically trying to cross the river in the foggy area. Although Chen Qingyun had lived here for many years, he was limited by his strength, and the things he came into contact with were very limited. He couldn't even tell where the 3 of them were in the foggy area. Hearing the 3's question, Night Sorrow thought for a while and said, "The earthly supreme rules and essence here seem to be purer than the eternal supreme world. I can't tell what it is, but it seems to be closer to the Great Way." Closer to the Great Way? Bai Mei Sanren frowned and asked, Night Sorrow continued. It's a very mysterious feeling, but it's hard to describe. Okay, if there are more gains later, I'll try to absorb some and feel it. After Bai Mei Sanren finished speaking, he continued. Let's continue to kill the beasts. Okay, Night Sorrow put Chun Qingyun into the space again, and used the advantage of a sea serpent's eye to search for lone beasts with Bai Mei Sanren. This time, in less than an hour, the two found a new target. It was a strange beast that looked a little like a stone mountain. The two of them successfully killed it. After obtaining the earthly supreme essence, Bai Mei Sanren tried to absorb it and found that the earthly supreme rules and essence in this foggy area were indeed different from the eternal supreme world. He also felt that the earthly supreme rules and essence here were purer. Maybe it's because the cultivators in the eternal supreme world have more complicated thoughts and think more things. As for the creatures in the fog, they only have the heart to kill. Bai Mei Sanren also came to the same conclusion. Night Sorrow made his own deduction. Bai Mei Sanren smiled and said, maybe. Obviously, he felt that his speculation was a little too far-fetched. Night Sorrow didn't care too much about this. After that, the two of them started hunting mystic beasts again. Night Sorrow was also in the process of absorbing the earthly sovereign's precepts and essence. He was getting closer and closer to becoming an intermediate sovereign. On the 7th year after they entered the fog area, Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren were fighting a mystic beast when they suddenly heard the sound of fighting. Along with the sounds of fighting, the roars of cultivators could also be heard. Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren looked at each other and quickly used their ultimate skills to kill the bewildering beasts in front of them. With Night Sorrow opening the sea serpent's eye, the two of them moved towards the direction of the sound of fighting. The sound didn't sound far, but when they moved towards the direction of the sound, the two of them confirmed that the distance between them was about 10,000 miles. After getting closer, Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and looked through the fog. Suddenly, he saw a huge screen that looked like a mountain in the strange wood forest in front of him. The sound of fighting came from this curtain. In front of us is a huge tomb made of stones. It's thousands of feet tall and occupies a large area. It's surrounded by a dense forest of strange trees. These trees are the same as the ones we saw when we first entered the fog area. Every tree has a mouth. Night Sorrow saw the situation in front of him and immediately explained to Bai Mei Sanren and Chun Qingyun. Huge tomb? Could there be something good in the tomb that attracted cultivators to fight? Hearing this, Bai Mei Sanren frowned and said. At this moment, his eyes were dark and he couldn't see anything. Chun Qingyun said, according to the records of the fog area, the owners of such tombs were usually heavenly sovereigns when they were alive. Brother Yi, look around the tomb and see if there are any restrictions. There are restrictions, but they're already broken. They should have been destroyed by the people who entered the tomb. Night Sorrow observed for a while and said, to be able to destroy a heavenly sovereign level restriction, the cultivator who entered the tomb shouldn't be simple. Moreover, this tomb is in the forest of strange trees. Should we just avoid it? Chun Qingyun immediately said with some fear after hearing this. To him, the tomb of a heavenly sovereign and the forest of strange trees were extremely terrifying existences. At this moment, Bai Mei Sanren said with interest, we've hunted for 7 years and obtained earthly sovereign-level items. Now that we've encountered such an opportunity, it would be a waste to miss it. Oh, brother, do you mean that we should go in and take a look? Night Sorrow looked at Bai Mei Sanren and said, in fact, this was exactly what he wanted. It was estimated that the fog area was only 10,000 years away from the disaster of the Eternal Supreme World. He had to improve his strength as soon as possible. It was possible to advance to middle sovereign level if he hunted the beasts here step by step. But to advance to upper sovereign level and half-step earthly sovereign level, that would take too many years. It was absolutely unacceptable. Of course, as the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. If we don't take the risk, how can we obtain heavenly sovereign rules and essence, or even heavenly sovereign artifacts? Lead the way. Baime Sanrin made a prompt decision. He also knew how terrifying it was to be attacked by the fog area. The endless fog army, coupled with the ferocious beasts, was not something that the eternal supreme world cultivators could resist. Moreover, there were 3 peerless experts in the fog area. Okay, let's go. If the situation is not right, I'll put you into the space cave and escape with you. After all, I have the eyes of the sea serpent and can see very far. Night Sorrow said and led Baime Sanrin into the Strangewood Forest. After getting closer, Night Sorrow found that the trees in the forest were a little strange. It was as if they had fallen into a deep sleep and had no intention of attacking them. Brother Chun, why do these trees look like they're in a deep sleep? Night Sorrow, who was not sure what had happened, asked. This should be the sleeping curse. It can make the trees in the Strangewood Forest sleep for a year and not attack cultivators for a year. Only the major forces in the fog area have such means. The people in the tomb are definitely not simple. Qin Xingyun told him everything he knew. To be honest, he did not want to go in at all. Even his divine soul was trembling. Don't be afraid. Even if we can't defeat them, we can escape successfully. The path of cultivation is against the heavens. It's impossible to achieve success without a smooth journey. No matter what, your Tao heart must not be disturbed. Night Sorrow, who clearly sensed Chun Qingyun's situation, said. Hearing this, Chun Qingyun's body immediately trembled. He had an epiphany because of Night Sorrow's words. Clan M. Chapter 3082. In an instant, Chun Qingyun understood a principle. Even if his body was limited, he could still go against the heavens. He looked at Night Sorrow and said gratefully, listening to your words is better than 10,000 years of cultivation. My body isn't strong enough, so I can't advance to the Earth Sovereign level. But I can find opportunities to improve my body's strength. The world is so big, there will be treasures that can improve my body. You're right to think so. Never compromise on the path of cultivation. If you admit defeat, you'll disappear into the crowd. Night Sorrow looked at Qin Xingyun and said with a smile. However, just as he finished speaking, he said vigilantly, Brother Whitebrow, be careful. There's a small-scale trap array at the entrance of the ancient tomb. The trap array's method isn't brilliant, but breaking it rashly will alarm the people inside. After speaking to Baime Sanrin, Night Sorrow summoned a pair of restriction-breaking hammers and said, Can the 2 of you bring us in without alarming the people inside? Of course. The array in front of us is only an ordinary sovereign-level array. We can easily deceive them. After observing the array in front of them, the male hammer said indifferently. The female hammer said cautiously, The success rate is very high, but we can't be completely sure, because there's the possibility of an array within an array. Okay, let me observe carefully. Caution is the parent of safety. After hearing the female hammer's words, Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and observed carefully. After confirming that there was no array within an array, he said, The array in front of us doesn't have an array within an array. We can go in. Okay, then we'll bring you in. The female hammer said, and brought Night Sorrow and Baime Sanrin into the ancient tomb with the male hammer. As soon as they entered the ancient tomb, the 2 of them felt a bone-piercing chill. At the same time, the original battle was still going on, and it sounded like it was far underground. Let's go in. I just hope there's no Sky Sovereign down there, Yishang said, and took the lead to walk in front. As for the restriction-breaking hammers, they were shrunk and hung on his waist like 2 bells. Upon hearing Night Sorrow mention a heavenly supreme, Baime Sanrin laughed and said, If there really is a heavenly supreme down there, we'll probably be dead by now. The difference between heaven and earth is not a joke. Yes, I know. Night Sorrow clearly remembered that when the Supreme Longevity fought against some earthly sovereigns, it was a one-sided suppression. There was no suspense at all. On top of that, the heavenly sovereign precepts and essences that he absorbed were vastly different from the earthly sovereign precepts and essences. In comparison, it was like a divine object, After that, Night Sorrow and Taoist White Eyebrows entered a long and narrow passage. This passageway was only 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide. Night Sorrow looked around and found that he couldn't see the end of it. He opened his mouth and said, "On the surface, it looks very similar to the materials used in mortal tombs. But in reality, this passageway was probably not simple. Let's observe bit by bit and go deeper bit by bit." After saying that, Night Sorrow summoned Little 7 and Little 9. Both of them came from the Eternal Divine Tower and had extraordinary eyesight. Little 7 observed for a while and said, "There shouldn't be any problems with this passageway. It's just that walking straight is not the way out. The exits are all on the walls. There are about 100 exits." 100 exits? How can you tell? Baimei Sanrin asked curiously when he heard Little 7's words. "This is the famous 100 Spirits tomb in the foggy area. The passageway in front of us is called 100 Spirits Road. There are 100 doors called 100 Spirits Doors. If you walk to the end, you will die. So, you have to choose one of the 100 Spirits Doors to enter. You can only live if you pass through it. If you don't, you will die." Little 7 continued. It had entered the 100 Spirits tomb before and knew some things. 100 Spirits Door? What's inside? Night Sorrow asked curiously. 100 Spirits Door. There are 100 ghosts inside. Every one of them is an evil spirit, according to the strength of the tomb owner, who is a heavenly sovereign. There should be over 100 earthly sovereign evil spirits behind each door. Little 7 said word by word. 100 earthly sovereign evil spirits? Hearing this, Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin looked at each other and felt that something was wrong. They were 2 earthly sovereigns, but there were 100 earthly sovereign evil spirits inside. If they entered rashly, they would be courting death. It's my fault. I should have warned you earlier. When I was outside, I already felt that something was wrong. But too much time has passed. I didn't think of it then. Little 7 said in a slightly vexed manner. It continued, "But now is not the time to regret. There is no turning back once you enter this path. Let's find 100 Spirits Door to enter. If we pass through it successfully, we might get a gift from the tomb owner. But the gift from the tomb owner in the foggy area might not be good. The creatures in the foggy area are bad. No matter what, we have to be mentally prepared. Since we have to choose one to enter, let's choose one according to fate." Night Sorrow said, then looked at Baimei Sanrin and said, "Brother Baimei Sanrin, pick one and we will enter." "Io, forget it. You're the one who is blessed by fate. You should pick one. I think the path you pick is definitely the right one." Baimei Sanrin shook his head and said to Night Sorrow, "Okay, I will pick one." Night Sorrow nodded and kept Little 7, Little 9, and a restriction-breaking bronze hammer in the space hollow. Then they walked forward. After walking for a while, Night Sorrow saw the shape of a door on the wall. Every door is 100 Spirits Door. You can choose one to enter. What is in each door depends on your luck. But there shouldn't be any heavenly sovereigns. Little 7, who was in the space hollow, reminded them. "Okay, let's go first. There is nothing to choose from." Night Sorrow said, then walked to the door closest to them and said, "Let's go in. No matter what we encounter, we will kill it." "Okay, I will take the lead." Baimei Sanrin was very generous and took the lead to walk towards the door. He really went through the wall and walked in. Then, Night Sorrow followed him in. After walking in, they entered a dark and silent space. The quiet and dark environment was as if time had stopped. Baimei Sanrin, who was blind, said telepathically, "Brother Night Sorrow, what is in here?" "My sea serpent, I can only see clearly within 100 meters. There is nothing within 100 meters. It is an empty flat ground." Night Sorrow observed for a while and replied. At this moment, the space where the two of them were suddenly filled with horrifying ghost cries. The ghost cries sounded extremely tragic and seemed to be coming from afar. The two of them felt something floating over at the same time. Chapter 3083. There were definitely more than one or two things floating towards them. When Night Sorrow saw them clearly, he immediately felt goosebumps all over his body. However, after careful observation with the eye of the sea serpent, he realized that not all of the evil spirits floating towards them were at the earthly sovereign level. There were two earthly sovereign evil spirits, leading hundreds and thousands of other evil spirits at the martial saint level as they wandered over sinisterly. He immediately transmitted his voice to Baimei Sanrin. There are only two earthly sovereign evil spirits. If we go all out, we definitely have a chance. In the dark tomb, facing so many evil spirits, even Night Sorrow had to go all out. Many ants can bite an elephant to death. So many earthly sovereign evil spirits are also not easy to deal with. Let's use our own methods. As Baimei Sanrin reminded them, he took out a copper coin covered in green rust from his spatial artifact. He threw it into the air, and the copper coin immediately shone with a faint green light. Being illuminated by this soft green light, the originally pitch-black space suddenly had a ray of light. After the light appeared, the faces of many evil spirits were seen by Night Sorrow and Baimei Sanrin at the same time. Among these evil spirits, there were ordinary practitioners like Night Sorrow, but their bodies were green and white, the color of a dead person's skin. There were also some other unknown creatures with all kinds of strange shapes and sizes. But overall, each of them emitted a dense and evil aura. Reversal of heaven and earth, shackles of yin and yang. Seeing the appearance of these evil spirits, the white-browed wanderer frowned in fear and then loudly roared, "Come!" As he chanted the incantation, the faint green light suddenly turned into sharp swords, slashing at the evil spirits in front of them. In an instant, dozens of earthly, sovereign evil spirits were killed. Good move. Night Sorrow praised Baimei Sanrin when he saw that he had killed dozens of earthly, sovereign evil spirits. Then he took out the fire and beacon smoke diagram from his space paradise. He directly smashed it into one of the earthly, sovereign evil spirits. This earthly, sovereign evil spirit looked very similar to a Qilin, but it was surrounded by an oppressive aura of death. It gave off an extremely evil feeling. After Night Sorrow smashed the fire beacon smoke diagram at it, he stabbed it with his spear. He wanted to kill it directly. However, the fire beacon smoke diagram did not suppress the evil spirit in front of him. Facing Night Sorrow's attack, it laughed and pounced at Night Sorrow. His body had been pierced by Yi Shang's golden heavenly halberd, but his enormous body clamped down on the golden heavenly halberd. Even if Night Sorrow's body could not pull the golden heavenly halberd immediately, its sovereign evil spirit's body is so frightening. This was the first time Yi Shang had encountered a situation where he couldn't pull out the golden heavenly halberd. At the same time, the Qilin-like evil spirit abruptly let out an extremely evil roar at Yi Shang. It's a sound attack. Night Sorrow had rich battle experience. He immediately sensed the evil spirit's intention and surrounded himself with the power of merit. He used the power of merit to resist the evil spirit's attack. 1. Although the power of virtue had a certain effect, Night Sorrow was still shaken to the point of dizziness. The power of merit is useful, but its grade is too low. Since I entered the eternal sovereign world, my power of merit has not increased. How can it completely resist the attack of an earthly, sovereign, evil spirit? I wonder if killing an evil spirit like this will increase my power of virtue. In the realm of the gods, Night Sorrow only needed to kill evil creatures to obtain the power of merit. At this moment, a thought appeared in his mind. He ignored the earthly sovereign evil spirit in front of him and attacked the sovereign evil spirits that were pouncing at him. Soon, he killed more than 10 of them. Now, his true fighting power was definitely at the level of an earthly sovereign. Although there were many evil spirits in front of him, they were not much of a threat to him. The reason was that Night Sorrow did not have any shortcomings. Whether it was his body or his spirit, they were both very strong. He killed more than 10 sovereign evil spirits in front of him. Yishan was pleasantly surprised to find that they had turned into golden power of virtue and burrowed into his body. With the support of the power of merit, Knight Soro's power of merit began to increase rapidly. By the time he killed 500 to 600 autarch-level evil spirits, his power of virtue would have successfully advanced to the intermediate sovereign level. After all, the gap between his power of merit and his cultivation had been too big before. Now it was increasing rapidly. Knight Soro's protective divine domain had strengthened a lot because of this. Very good. At this rate, my power of merit will soon catch up to the level of a sovereign. This is really a pleasant surprise. The rapid increase of power of merit without any bottlenecks made Knight Soro very excited. When his power of merit had advanced to the level of an intermediate sovereign, Knight Soro fought with the Qilin evil spirit again. At this time, with the support of the power of merit, he smoothly took out the golden heavenly halberd. Mysterious azure divine spear art. After taking out the golden heavenly halberd, Knight Soro immediately activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret technique and used all his strength to fight the evil spirit in front of him. At this time, Baimei Sanrin was struggling to fight with another earthly sovereign evil spirit. That earthly sovereign evil spirit was a humanoid evil spirit. When he was alive, he should have been a cultivator and an expert among the earthly sovereigns. The strength of his body was extremely high. Although Baimei Sanrin had the advantage in terms of technique, it was difficult for him to heavily injure his opponent with his attacks. He could only find opportunities to kill some sovereign evil spirits in the battle to reduce the pressure on him and Knight Soro. The battle lasted for about an hour. The sovereign evil spirits in front of them had all been killed by the two of them. Their opponents were only the two earthly sovereign evil spirits in front of them. Facing his opponent, Knight Soro didn't have to struggle too much because his power of merit had a strong restraining effect on the evil spirits. After gaining the upper hand, Knight Soro suddenly roared, "Merit Trap Array!" Then he used the power of merit to lock the earthly sovereign evil spirit in front of him. Then the divine finger, divine spear, and dragon's roar all attacked the Kirin evil spirit. After being hit by the series of attacks, although the Kirin evil spirit's body was extremely strong, it was still heavily injured and basically lost the ability to resist. At this time, Little Seven, who was in the space cave, sent a message to Knight Soro, "Don't kill it yet. Let me go and subdue it. I should be able to get a lot of benefits. Let me do it. I'll get more benefits if I kill it." Hearing Little Seven's words, Knight Soro smiled and killed the Kirin evil spirit. After the Kirin evil spirit was killed, it immediately turned into a sky full of golden power of merit and surged into Knight Soro's body. After absorbing the power of merit of an earthly sovereign evil spirit, I didn't advance to an upper dominator. After absorbing the power of merit, Knight Soro felt very comfortable. The power of merit in his body also increased, but it didn't advance to an upper dominator as he had expected. Clan M. Chapter 3084. Just now, his power of virtue had advanced very quickly, but when it reached the intermediate dominator level, it slowed down. After absorbing the power of virtue, transformed from an earthly sovereign evil spirit, he hadn't advanced to the level of an upper-level sovereign. While this surprised Knight Soro, he also knew that the path to the power of virtue's advancement required him to kill a large number of evil spirits. As soon as this thought flashed through his mind, Knight Soro shouted, "Brother Whitebrow, I'm here to help you." He realized that Baimei Sanrin was slightly passive in his fight against the evil spirit. The evil spirit that Baimei Sanrin was dealing with could actually increase its strength a second time. It was more powerful than the one that Knight Soro had killed. Knight Soro didn't expect that at this moment Baimei Sanrin would say, "There's no need to help. I've reincarnated from the previous era. I don't lack methods. Dealing with it is a piece of cake." "Okay, then I'll help you." At the same time, I'll study the path ahead. When Knight Sorrow heard Bai Mei Sanren say this, he knew that he definitely had the confidence, so he didn't help. He summoned Little 7, Little 9, and the pair of restriction-breaking hammers. He said, "Let's study the surrounding environment together." Even with the sea serpent's eye activated, Knight Sorrow couldn't see very far. To him, the place in front of him was complete darkness. The only thing he could see clearly was the area where the battle had just taken place. The strength of the perception barrier here is too strong. I can't see what's around me, Little 9 said helplessly after being summoned. Not long after, Little 7 and the restriction-breaking hammers also gave feedback. They couldn't see anything either. Here, they were like people who had been locked in a dark room but didn't know where they were. Uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. Knight Sorrow released his spirit power to investigate, but he couldn't find any direction. It was as if the mountain was high and the clouds were deep, and he didn't know where he was. Since he couldn't find anything, Knight Sorrow turned his attention to Bai Mei Sanren's battle. In terms of strength, the white-browed wanderer was weaker than the evil spirit in front of him, but just as he said, he had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. Often, he would be able to turn danger into safety and counterattack in a seemingly passive situation. After about 2 hours, Bai Mei Sanren completely killed the evil spirit in front of him. I've gained a lot from this battle. After killing the evil spirit, Bai Mei Sanren laughed and said, "Brother Yi, I'm not feeling well. Quickly let your white jade cleanse me." He had been fighting in the fog for a long time, so it was natural for him to be corroded. Hearing this, Yishang smiled and said, "We probably won't need the white jade." Sanren Kue, Sanren's power, Sanren of light, dragon, Sanren of virtue, Sanren surrounded by the golden dragon of virtue. The black gas around white-browed wanderer was completely dissolved. Amazing! Is this the legendary power, Sanren of virtue? Bai Mei Sanren asked doubtfully after the black gas on his body was cleansed. Yes, it's the power Sanren of virtue. It has the same effect as the white jade, Knight Sorrow replied. He didn't hide anything from Bai Mei Sanren. This was the respect he deserved. That's great. It's a pity that the power Sanren of virtue is something that can only be found by chance. Brother no longer has the chance to pursue it. Bai Mei Sanren smiled and continued. Brother Knight Sorrow, how's the search going? Not much. It's completely dark here. We don't even know how many pairs of eyes are watching us in the dark. Knight Sorrow told him the truth. This place should have been set up by a heavenly supreme. He couldn't see through it at all. Since that's the case, why don't we just keep going forward? If we encounter evil spirits again, we'll just fight. What do you think? Bai Mei Sanren said without hesitation. Sure. As the saying goes, the brave are fearless. If there's no path, we'll just have to fight our way out. Hearing this, Yishang nodded. Then, he took off the white jade and handed it to Bai Mei Sanren. Brother, I have the power of merit to protect me. You can keep the white jade with you for the time being. If we get separated, you won't lose your mind completely. Then I'll do as you say. After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Bai Mei Sanren did not hold back. However, after receiving the white jade, he said, Brother Knight Sorrow, this is a huge gift. I have nothing to give in return. You will have the priority to choose any item we find in the fog. Brother, you're too polite. If we get something good, we can discuss it later. Knight Sorrow replied indifferently and continued to walk forward with Bai Mei Sanren. However, as they walked, they were stopped by a mountain. What's going on? There's a mountain in this tomb? Being blocked, White-Brow Wanderer immediately asked in confusion. Knight Sorrow, who had activated the sea serpent's eye to observe, was shocked and said, Oh no, brother, get out of the way. This is a huge evil spirit. Oh, okay. Bai Mei Sanren responded and used his movement technique to hide in the distance. Knight Sorrow saw that the evil spirit was a towering beast. They were blocked by one of the beast's legs. He used the mysterious sky's secret shadow to dodge. Under his intentional control, he did not pull away from Bai Mei Sanren. Just as the two of them began to dodge, the giant beast lifted its thick and sturdy legs and stomped towards the two of them. What kind of evil spirit is this? What a huge leg! The giant leg of the evil spirit was so huge that they could not see the end of it. Baime Sanrun, who was dodging, found that he could not dodge at all. He immediately shouted, "Brother Knight Sorrow, I can't dodge this leg. I'm going to attack directly." "Okay, in that case, I'll attack too. Let's work together to get rid of it." Hearing Baime Sanrun's words, Knight Sorrow immediately took out the golden heavenly halberd and the fire and beacon smoke diagram. He threw the fire and beacon smoke diagram into the void, wanting to affect the giant evil spirit. As for the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he directly thrust it upwards. Knight Sorrow did not use any unique skills in this attack, but it was still very lethal. The evil spirit was in so much pain that it lifted its giant leg directly. "Good move. Watch me." Seeing Knight Sorrow's spear make the evil spirit raise its foot, Baime roared loudly and used the iron rod in his hand to smash it upwards, creating a loud clang. Oh, after being attacked continuously, the evil spirit was obviously angry. It let out a ghostly wail. This wail was much louder than Knight Sorrow and Baime Sanrun's. It was many times louder. With Knight Sorrow's physical strength, he actually felt as if his eardrums were about to explode. It was very uncomfortable, and this evil spirit's sound wave attack seemed to be endless. It had no intention of stopping at all. "You not done crying? Watch me smash your head." This kind of ghostly wail affected a person's mind. The evil spirit continued to let out ghostly wails. Baime Sanrun soon could not take it anymore and began to attack fiercely. Clan M. Chapter 3085. However, Baime Sanrun flew for a long time, but he didn't see the giant evil spirit's head. What welcomed him were 8 giant tentacles descending from the sky. When these tentacles were waved, they were the size of mountains. In comparison, Baime Sanrun seemed rather small. He wasn't even as big as the suckers on the tentacles. However, this didn't affect his attack power. He looked like he was invincible with a metal rod in his hand. He smashed the evil spirit's tentacles fiercely. "Huh, brother is mighty," Knight Sorrow shouted from below. He also rose into the air to help Baime Sanrun fight against the giant evil spirit's tentacles. "We are both earthly sovereigns, but why is this tentacle monster so difficult to deal with?" Baime Sanrun, who had been waving his metal rod for a long time without breaking the tentacles, quickly frowned. He realized that the tentacle monster in front of him was many times stronger than the earthly sovereign evil spirit that he had killed. It felt invulnerable. This tentacle monster's defense is amazing, but its other aspects are very ordinary. We have some patience, and we will kill it eventually, Knight Sorrow said in surprise when he felt Baime Sanrun's emotions suddenly become agitated. "Kill! Kill! Kill!" However, after Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Baime Sanrun suddenly became even more manic. Knight Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to take a look and realized that his eyes had turned blood red. His entire body was emitting a strong aura of hostility. "What's going on? Baiyu, didn't I ask you to protect Brother Baime? What's wrong with him?" Realizing that something was wrong, Knight Sorrow immediately sent a message to Baiyu. He was hit by something that the evil spirit's tentacles spat out, causing him to lose his mind and fall into a state of madness. It has nothing to do with the fog. Baiyu immediately explained to Knight Sorrow that it wasn't its fault, something that the suckers spat out. When Knight Sorrow heard this, he immediately became alert and surrounded himself with the power of merit. The power of virtue he currently controlled was at the level of an intermediate dominator. Directly attacking an earthly emperor-level evil spirit was not particularly effective. It could only be used as support. There really is something spewing out. Yishang had just enveloped himself with the power of good karma. The giant evil spirit's tentacles suddenly spat out a large amount of things at him, What was spat out was not liquid, nor was it mist. Instead, it was a large amount of vicious energy. This evil energy was red in color, and it contained a large amount of emotions, such as killing, bloodthirsty, and world-destroying. If it weren't for the power of merit blocking it, Night Sorrow would have been hit as well. So it's these things. After confirming what the tentacle monster had spat out, Night Sorrow immediately used the Dragon of Virtue on Baimei Sanren, allowing the Dragon of Virtue to purify the evil aura on his body. He was entangled by the Dragon of Virtue. Baimei Sanren's blood-red eyes gradually recovered, and so did his mind. What's wrong with me? I don't have any strength in my body. I can't condense any divine origin energy. Baimei Sanren, who had recovered, did not even have the strength to fly. As he spoke, he directly fell downwards. You were hit by the tentacle monster's secret technique and used up all your divine origin energy. At the same time Night Sorrow replied, he kept Baimei Sanren into his space grotto heaven and let Xinxian help him retrieve resources to help Baimei Sanren recover. He himself was completely engaged in battle with the giant evil spirit. In the process of battle, Night Sorrow discovered that the strength of this evil spirit's body was at an abnormal level. Even his golden heavenly halberd's divine spear was unable to penetrate it. The only good thing was that this tentacle monster's greatest ability was spitting out vicious energy. This move was completely useless against Night Sorrow. In the following battle, Night Sorrow relied on his annoyance to slowly fly to the top of the tentacle monster's head. He completely destroyed its dragon-shaped head. This process lasted for a total of 10 hours. After killing it, Night Sorrow was so tired that he almost collapsed. He thought to himself, this is only the third earthly sovereign evil spirit, and it's already so difficult to deal with. Little Seven said that there were more than 100 evil spirits. It seems like this trip is going to be difficult. As he thought to himself, Night Sorrow's body completely absorbed the power of virtue that the evil spirit had turned into. This time, Night Sorrow could clearly feel that his power of virtue was not far from the upper dominator level. He immediately understood how to break through the 100 Spirits Gate. That was to use battle to nurture battle. Through battle, he would strengthen his power of virtue bit by bit. Finally, he would rely on the power of virtue to break through the 100 Spirits Gate. Brother Night Sorrow, it's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, I would have been killed. Baimei Sanren, who had recovered a little, said with lingering fear. The giant evil spirit just now didn't seem to have any ability, but it suddenly exploded, making it impossible to guard against. If Night Sorrow didn't have the power of virtue protecting him, the two of them would definitely have been killed. I'm also lucky to have the power of virtue protecting me. Otherwise, I would have also been killed. Night Sorrow said modestly and began to recover. This time, he used about 3 days to completely recover. However, Baimei Sanren didn't completely recover. Therefore, Night Sorrow continued to lead Baimei Sanren forward. At this moment, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast suddenly said, Night Sorrow, can you let Little Seven give me all the things it absorbed? I'll discuss it with Little Seven. Night Sorrow knew that the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, who had been cultivating all this time, had a great use for it. You can get it to him. I don't care about these things. Little Seven, who had just absorbed a lot of evil spirits, handed them all to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. After absorbing all of them, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's strength suddenly increased by leaps and bounds. I still need to absorb some more to reach the peak of the half-step earthly sovereign level. When I advance to the earthly sovereign level, I can fight side by side with you. The earthly sovereign evil spirits in front of us are too strong. I'm no match for them now. After absorbing all the resources, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was close to the peak of the half-step earthly sovereign level, but it had no intention of coming out to fight. This was because with its strength, it was useless to come out and fight the earthly sovereign evil spirits. Yes, The 100 Spirits Gate is still long. If nothing goes wrong, you should be able to advance to the earthly sovereign level here. When that time comes, you can reach the sky in one step. However, you have to remember that our future opponents are not earthly sovereigns, but heavenly sovereigns and ultimate sovereigns. Don't be complacent when you advance to the earthly sovereign level. As Night Sorrow responded to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, he held the spear in one hand and continued to walk forward. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast said, "Don't worry, I won't be satisfied so easily." That's good. I'll give you some heavenly sovereign laws and essence. Try to absorb them. It can let you comprehend some heavenly sovereign laws earlier. As he spoke, Night Sorrow handed a small spirit to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast for it to absorb. As soon as this was done, Night Sorrow once again heard the cries of evil spirits. Clan M. Chapter 3086. This time, the ghostly wail sounded like a woman's wail, and it sounded rather sorrowful. When Night Sorrow heard it, he found it difficult to calm down and felt extremely uncomfortable. He immediately condensed the power of merit to stop the ghostly wail. This ghostly wail is really unbearable. After feeling a little better, Night Sorrow said, "Brother Whitebrow, you haven't completely recovered yet. Leave this battle to me. Sigh, I'm useless, but if there's any danger later, I'll still help." Baime Sanrin sighed. He originally thought that his cultivation level was higher than Night Sorrow's and that he would be of great help on this trip. He did not expect that he would be unable to keep up with the pace of the battle as soon as it began. "It's serious. This time, it's just my power of merit that played a special role. It's not that I'm not capable enough." Night Sorrow comforted him. Sigh. Baime Sanrin sighed and did not continue speaking. Chun Qinyun saw Baime Sanrin's expression and laughed. "I think Night Sorrow is a living legend. We look the same as him, but we're actually different. In this era, he's destined to be the main character. Although he's not particularly strong now, one day he'll stand at the top. Don't compare yourself to him." "Haha, now that you mention it, I'm relieved." Baime Sanrin laughed and began to pay attention to Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow was still walking forward. He did not choose to fly. Instead, he walked step by step in the direction of the ghostly wail without retreating half a step. As he got closer, Night Sorrow finally found out where the ghostly wail came from. The target in front of him should have been a female cultivator when she was alive. At this moment, she had turned into a walking corpse, and her face was pale as if she had been smeared with powder. Behind the female ghost, there were nearly 100 ghosts at the level of Supremes. The female ghost was wailing, and these ghosts did not dare to make a sound. They all obediently submitted, as if they were waiting for orders. "Living humans, don't enter." After noticing Night Sorrow, the female ghost looked up at him and spat venomously. "Strangers are not allowed to enter? What great resentment. I advise you to reincarnate as soon as possible." The female ghost in front of him was different from the few that Night Sorrow had encountered before. The few that he had encountered before were completely walking corpses. Someone had used a secret technique to generate a new soul from their corpses, or in other words, spiritual intelligence. This female ghost, on the other hand, had a normal soul. She must have been transformed into this by someone using a secret technique when she was about to die. He felt like he was neither a human nor a ghost. "Reincarnation? I won't give you the chance. Go to hell." There seemed to be something in the female ghost's throat. She howled hoarsely and waved her hand. "Kill him. I want you to reincarnate. Since you don't want to, then accept the fate of having your soul destroyed." 100 ghosts attacked. Night Sorrow roared and held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. He slashed out a ray of light in the direction of the 100 ghosts' attack. This ray of light is not only the attack of the golden heavenly halberd, it is also mixed with the power of virtue. After being hit by this ray of light, many evil spirits let out miserable howls. In front of Night Sorrow, These supreme-level evil spirits simply couldn't resist at all. Realizing this, the female ghost, or rather, the demoness, raised her head to the sky and howled. She soared into the sky and transformed into boundless resentment that charged at Yishan. Night Sorrow, be careful. This move is called Demoness Howl. It is not simple. It is best not to block it head-on. Originally, Night Sorrow wanted to use the power of virtue to block this move. However, at this moment, Little Nine suddenly transmitted her voice over. She reminded him that this move is not simple. However, during a battle, it can reverse the situation in a single breath. Little Nine did not have time to explain in detail. All right, I choose to dodge. Facing this Demoness Howl, Night Sorrow immediately used the mysterious sky secret shadow after receiving Little Nine's reminder and flashed far away. In an instant, he was out of the opponent's attack range. Kill, 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 kill. After missing its target, the female ghost appeared again. Her eyes, which were already glowing with green light, were now filled with even more hatred. She continuously roared the word kill 7 times. Then, she disappeared into the void again. Even if Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye, he could not see her figure. It is the female ghost 7 kill art. This move cannot be dodged. You must choose to block it head-on. If you dodge, the strength of the female ghost will increase infinitely. Because this move is to use the fear in the opponent's heart to increase her strength. If you choose to dodge, it means that you have fear in your heart, and it will help her increase her strength. At this moment, Little Nine once again transmitted her voice to remind him. All right, I will listen to you. This time, Night Sorrow once again chose to believe Little Nine. As time was tight, he did not have time to ask Little Nine how she knew all this, but he still did as she said. He released the power of merit and let it surround his body to block the female ghost's attack. However, after a long time, the surrounding evil spirits had already pounced on him, but the female ghost still did not appear. She did not appear, which means that her strength did not increase at all. This move was easily broken by you. Night Sorrow and the 100 ghosts fought for a long time. He had already killed all the evil spirits and turned them into power of merit and absorbed them into his body. The female ghost still did not appear. Little Nine, who was in the space grotto heaven, said confidently, "This time, it is all thanks to your knowledge. Otherwise, how could you break her mysterious attack so easily?" Night Sorrow continued to transmit his voice while he was on guard. He was telling the truth. This time, if Little Nine had not seen this before, he would have been able to dodge the female ghost's attacks continuously. Who knows how powerful the female ghost would be? Die! Night Sorrow had just finished transmitting his voice when the female ghost's roar came from the void again. The word die was filled with endless hatred. What's the meaning of this move? Night Sorrow asked Little Nine again. This time, Little Nine was stunned for a moment before saying, "It doesn't seem to be anything special. I can fight with my full strength now." All right. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately rose into the void and activated the Trestrimsa battle secret technique. With the golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he fought against the female ghost. At this time, the female ghost's 2 killer moves had missed. It was obvious that she was at her wit's end and could only rely on her strength to fight. She was an evil spirit of the Earth's sovereign level and was not weak. However, she could not gain the upper hand against Night Sorrow. With the help of the power of merit, Night Sorrow quickly killed her and absorbed the power of merit that she had turned into. At this time, a divine soul filled with murderous intent suddenly appeared in the void. Night Sorrow looked up and saw that it was the woman's divine soul. What's going on? Shouldn't her divine soul be destroyed? Night Sorrow remembered that he had already killed her completely. He could not understand why a divine soul would appear in the void. Clan M. Chapter 3087. After the female ghost turned into a divine soul, her face was full of pain and struggle. She cried and laughed at times, looking very strange. What's going on? Do any of you know? Night Sorrow saw the scene in front of him and immediately asked. Maybe her divine soul has been invaded by the evil aura. She wants to reincarnate, but she can't do it. Little Nine, who was in the space cave, transmitted its voice to Night Sorrow. However, it was not sure. At this moment, the female ghost divine soul suddenly said, "Please, I beg you, kill me. No matter what, seeing her in so much pain, you should help her free herself." Baime Sanrin transmitted his voice when he saw the divine soul floating in the void in pain. Obviously, he was moved by compassion. "I'll try my best." The female ghost divine soul and Baime Sanrin both wanted Night Sorrow to kill her. At this moment, Night Sorrow responded. He condensed golden merit power and tried to purify the female ghost divine soul. Night Sorrow, who originally wanted to give a try, found that the purification was effective. Soon, the female ghost divine soul's ferocious expression gradually calmed down and finally became peaceful. "Thank you, benefactor. May I know your name? If I can recover my memory in my next life, I will definitely serve you as your servant." After the female ghost regained her consciousness, she immediately bowed to Night Sorrow. "My name is Night Sorrow. You don't have to repay my kindness. In your next life, don't reincarnate in the mist area," Night Sorrow said slowly, without any intention of being arrogant. "I was a cultivator in the Eternal Supreme World when I was alive. I hope to appear in the Eternal Supreme World again in my next life." The female ghost said and then asked, "How did you get trapped in the 100 Spirits sect? We saw that this was the tomb of a heavenly supreme and heard the sound of fighting. We felt that there was an opportunity, so we came in." Night Sorrow did not hold back. He believed in the female ghost divine soul in front of him. "Sigh, benefactor, this is a trap set by an evil spirit of a heavenly supreme. He had lured many cultivators here to absorb their strength and strengthen himself. This little girl was refined into an appearance that was neither human nor ghost. The evil spirits in the 100 Spirits sect were all raised by him." The female ghost sighed. "What? There was such a thing? How does a heavenly sovereign level evil spirit compare to a true heavenly sovereign?" When Night Sorrow heard the female ghost's words, he broke out in a cold sweat. His strength is naturally not as strong as a heavenly sovereign, but he should be stronger than a half-step heavenly sovereign, the female ghost said slowly. Then his goal is to absorb the power of cultivators. Why did he create so many 100 Spirits gates? If a cultivator enters, can't he just make a move? Yisheng asked doubtfully after thinking for a moment. "I'm not sure about that either. It's possible that he's under some kind of restriction, so it's not convenient for him to make a move." The female ghost analyzed, but she wasn't sure what was going on. "I know what happened." At that moment, Little Seven, who was in the space cave, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. "It's very simple. I feel that this evil spirit set up the 100 Spirits gate in order to find a powerful body for itself. He wants to possess the body. Because he is a heavenly supreme, he has high requirements for the body. Hence, he set up the 100 Spirits gate as a trap. Needless to say, those who pass through will be possessed by him. Now that you mention it, that might be the case. So what should we do next?" When he heard Little Seven's words, Night Sorrow felt a chill run down his spine. If he had not met the female ghost and purified her, he would not have thought that there was a conspiracy in the 100 Spirits sect. He would have thought that it was an opportunity left behind by the tomb owner. This is really not easy to deal with, unless you continue to cultivate here and wait until you can resist him before leaving the 100 Spirits gate. Otherwise, you will die either way," Little Seven said helplessly. Although the evil spirit was only a heavenly supreme, his strength was not to be underestimated. He was definitely not someone that Night Sorrow or Baime Sanrin could resist. "I came to the foggy area to increase my strength quickly. How can I continue to cultivate here? That's not possible," Night Sorrow immediately retorted. He did not have the time to cultivate here for a few eras or even a few reincarnations. "Then what can we do?" Little Seven said bitterly. He felt that the calamity was coming, and staying by Knight Sorrow's side was the best choice. He did not want him to be possessed by the evil spirit. My idea is to continue to fight and increase my strength during the battle. Knight Sorrow pondered for a while before continuing. At that moment, the female ghost continued. Benefactor, do you think you should continue to fight? Yes, I am prepared to continue to fight. No matter what, it is better than being trapped in the 100 Spirits Gate forever. Knight Sorrow said truthfully. As for the merit power, he would not reveal it. If you want to continue to fight, I can tell you something. The evil spirits here are all afraid of fire and light. If the intensity of the fire or light is high enough, it can even weaken the evil spirit by 90%. The female ghost used to be a member of the 100 Spirits Gate, so she naturally knew some of their weaknesses. After saying that, she continued, another thing is that there is a very powerful evil spirit here. It is about the same strength as an upper earthly sovereign. It is very close to being a half-step heavenly supreme. It is hiding at the exit of the 100 Spirits Gate. As long as you defeat it, you can leave the 100 Spirits Gate. You must be careful of it. Its trump card is its eyes. You must be careful of its eyes. Thank you. Knight Sorrow thanked the female ghost when he heard that. The fact that the evil spirit was afraid of fire and light was a great help to him. Benefactor, you are welcome. If there is nothing else, I will be reincarnating. The female ghost bowed to Knight Sorrow again before she turned and left. Knight Sorrow said, rest for 2 days and then continue to fight. When the time comes, let's see if the flames are useful. He remembered that during the battle, the merit power and the golden heavenly halberd had released light. However, it did not seem to be of any use. He guessed that if the female ghost was right, the light was not bright enough. Therefore, he was prepared to use the phoenix fire in the next battle. Brother Yishang, I've basically recovered. Let's fight together. When Knight Sorrow encountered the next batch of 3 evil spirits, Baimei Sanrun, who was in the Space Hollow, was afraid that he would not be able to take it. Knowing that White-Brow Wanderer hadn't recovered, Yishan smiled and said, brother, don't worry. Although there are 3 evil spirits, there are 3 of them. Although there are 3 evil spirits, I have the phoenix fire. I should not be afraid of them. After replying, Yishan flew into the void and used the raging inferno demon on the 3 earthly, sovereign, evil spirits before him. Within the flames, there was the scorching phoenix fire. Chapter 3088. As the raging flames burned the entire void red, the phoenix fire suddenly turned into 3 fire phoenixes. As they screeched, they attacked the 3 earthly, sovereign, evil spirits. Amazing! This is the real phoenix fire. Baimei Sanrin, who was in the Space Hollow, exclaimed in admiration when he saw Knight Sorrow use the phoenix fire. At the same time, the 3 earthly, sovereign evil spirits, who had been charging at him aggressively, immediately fled as if they had seen snakes and scorpions. Just like what the female ghost had said, they were very afraid of fire. Trying to escape? How is that possible? Merit Trap Array. Divine Origin Trap Array. Fire Beacon Smoke Diagram. Seeing that the 3 earthly sovereign evil spirits were trying to escape, Knight Sorrow immediately used his various techniques. At the same time, he used the phoenix fire to launch a fierce attack on one of the earthly sovereign evil spirits. He immediately used the godly spear. This time, the godly spear was filled with a very violent light. Boom! When Knight Sorrow's attack hit the earthly sovereign evil spirit's huge body, there was a loud explosion. The earthly sovereign evil spirit was instantly enraged. However, under the illumination of the flames, it couldn't release its original strength. Soon, it was completely killed by Knight Sorrow and converted into merit energy. The other 2 earthly sovereign evil spirits had not escaped from the trap array. Knight Sorrow used roughly 30 breaths of time to successfully kill all of them and convert them into the power of virtue. Using this method to attack is indeed twice the result with half the effort. The battle is so easy and enjoyable. However, how much has your merit energy increased? Do you have a chance to reach the sovereign level? Baimei Sanrin asked with a smile in the space hollow. Knight Sorrow had fought the battle so easily, so he asked in a relaxed manner. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow pondered for a while and said, "After absorbing a few more, I will advance to the level of an upper dominator. I am still quite far away from the sovereign level. It is really difficult to advance the merit energy. I hope that when you walk out of the 100 Spirits sect, you will have the strength to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes. I definitely can't do it. In the past, I was just a supporting character." Baimei Sanrin said with a smile, "Let's hope that I can advance my power of virtue to the level of a sovereign." Knight Sorrow did some calculations and realized that it was impossible for his virtuous energy to reach the level of an earthly sovereign in the 100 Spirits sect. He only hoped that after he reached the utmost exalted level, he would be able to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes with the help of the flames. At the very least, he needed to be able to escape from the enemy's grasp. If you can successfully leave this graveyard, I'm willing to sacrifice myself to you. At this point, White-browed Wanderer sighed. He was still optimistic about Knight Sorrow's chances in the upcoming calamity. He felt that he was the destiny of this era. Brother, you don't have to do this. Just an evil spirit. How powerful could it be? You recuperate first. I will continue to battle with the evil spirit." Knight Sorrow said and continued forward. Soon, he encountered another earthly, sovereign, evil spirit. After using a flame attack, he quickly killed it again. After killing this earthly, sovereign, evil spirit, Knight Sorrow's power of virtue successfully advanced to the level of an upper-level sovereign. Although it was a small advancement, Knight Sorrow felt that his power of virtue was several times stronger, and he felt more comfortable being surrounded by it. Knight Sorrow, congratulations on advancing your power of virtue to the level of an upper-level sovereign. After Baimei Sanrin, Little 7, and Little 9 finished congratulating him, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast's voice suddenly sounded. "Weren't you absorbing the heavenly sovereign rules and essence? You're done so quickly?" The chaotic heavenly crystal beast spoke. Knight Sorrow was very surprised. This was because the speed at which he absorbed the heavenly sovereign rules and essence back then was extremely slow. However, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast had only disappeared for a short period of time before reappearing. Perhaps I was born to devour these heavenly sovereign rules and essence. I absorbed them very quickly. Do you have any more? If I absorb another 10 times or so, I can advance to the level of an earthly sovereign. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast said, without regard for himself. Can you advance to the level of an earthly sovereign? Then will your primal chaos space become even stronger as your cultivation level increases? After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast finished speaking, Knight Sorrow asked. He had the heavenly sovereign rules and essence on him, but these things were prepared for cultivation, and he was reluctant to give them away. However, if the chaotic heavenly crystal beast could improve the chaotic space, it would play a key role in dealing with the evil spirit behind the scenes. Thinking of this, he was naturally willing. Then it will definitely improve, and it won't be just a little bit. Hearing Knight Sorrow's question, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said confidently, "Okay, I'll believe you this once. I'll give you the resources. I hope you won't disappoint me when the time comes." As Knight Sorrow spoke to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, he gave it a golden spirit. At this time, he only had 3 of these golden spirits left. After giving one away, he still had 2 left. This grade is much stronger than that blue one. Thank you. When the time comes for you to fight the evil spirit behind the scenes, I'll definitely do my best. After the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said this, it fell silent again. Obviously, it was going to cultivate. After that, Knight Sorrow said to Baimei Sanrin, Brother, you came from the previous era and are experienced and knowledgeable. Do you know any ways to deal with powerful evil spirits? If we're not strong enough, then we'll have to work on other aspects. I'm really not too sure about this. If I knew, I would have said it long ago. Baime Sanren said helplessly. At this time, Little Seven sighed regretfully and said, if only the 8th level was here, the 3 of us could form a soul-suppressing pagoda and directly suppress that evil spirit. Are the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels that strong when combined? Hearing Little Seven's words, Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. After all, Little 7 and Little 9 were only earthly sovereign level divine artifacts. Although our 3 levels are all earthly sovereign divine artifacts, when combined, they are very powerful. They will form a heavenly sovereign divine artifact. If all 9 levels combine, it will be an extreme divine artifact. However, Little 9 and I can only combine with the 8th level. There's no way to combine with the other levels. Little 7 said, let's talk about this in the future. Let's get out of here safely first, and then look for Little 8. Night Sorrow was still very interested in the fact that the combination of the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels could form a heavenly sovereign divine artifact. However, under the oppression of the evil spirit behind the scenes, how could he be in the mood to think about that? That's right. Let's continue fighting. Only by leaving this place alive can we have a future. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Little 9 sighed and said, actually, I know some clues about Little 8, but let's talk about this in the future. Clan M. Chapter 3089. Good. As long as there are clues, everything will have to wait until we get through this crisis. Otherwise, everything is just empty talk. Little 9 said slowly. He also understood that the current crisis was not easy to overcome. It was just that even though he and Little 9 could provide some suggestions, they could not play the role of turning the tide. Since no one has any ideas, I will continue to fight. The 7th, 8th, and 9th levels of the Eternal Divine Tower could be combined into a heavenly sovereign artifact. However, the 8th level was not in the ancient tomb. Since no one could think of any other solution, Night Sorrow continued to fight with the evil spirits. At this moment, he had already grasped the trick of fire and light attacks. Moreover, his power of merit was also gradually increasing. It was easy to deal with ordinary earthly sovereign evil spirits. 2 years later, Night Sorrow successfully killed the 55th evil spirit. His power of merit had also advanced to half sovereign, which was the peak of the sovereign realm. He was only 1 step away from the sovereign realm. However, Night Sorrow, who had thought that he would break through quickly, still had not advanced to the sovereign realm after killing 99 evil spirits in the 100 Spirits sect. There is only 1 evil spirit left. If I kill it, I will not be able to advance my power of merit to the sovereign realm. I will not be able to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes. As for the last evil spirit, Yishan didn't immediately fight it. Instead, he stopped and talked to Baime Sanren about it. His virtue energy was indeed on the verge of advancing, but it was completely unknown whether it would be able to advance after he killed the last evil spirit. If he was unable to advance after killing the last evil spirit, then the evil spirit behind the scenes would be summoned, and it would absolutely be a tragedy for him. In my opinion, why don't you take a break and try to raise your strength? After all, sharpening the knife will not delay the work of cutting wood. If you're not strong enough and go out rashly, everyone will die. Baime Sanren said, yes, I have the same idea, but I am afraid that it will take too much of everyone's time. I want to advance to intermediate sovereign here and then fight again. In that case, if my power of merit cannot advance, we will have a chance to escape. However, it will take many years. Night Sorrow said with a frown. At this moment, he was carrying everyone's fate on his shoulders. Now that things had come to a head, he didn't want to take any unnecessary risks. If you say time is important, then it is important. If you say it isn't important, then it isn't important. By the way, how many years do you think you need to cultivate? White-browed Wanderer asked in puzzlement. He knew that the great calamity would arrive in about 10,000 years. If Night Sorrow still couldn't advance to intermediate supreme martial artist within 10,000 years, then everything would be too late. I'm not sure, but it should take at least 1,000 years. Night Sorrow said helplessly as he recalled the difficulty of absorbing the Heavenly Supreme's law and essence. 1,000 years. Although 1,000 years is precious, it is not as important as our lives. Cultivate in peace. I'll protect you. I guarantee that the last remaining evil spirit will not disturb you. Baime Sanrin promised to let Night Sorrow out. Little 7, Little 9, and the rest were also released to protect Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, on the other hand, set up a formation and started to cultivate in peace. He was forced to do this because he had no choice. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast absorbed the Heavenly Supreme's law and essence very quickly, but it was very difficult for Night Sorrow to absorb. The progress was very slow. However, overall, it was faster than Night Sorrow expected. After about 500 years, he felt that he was on the verge of advancing. After 600 years, he successfully advanced to Intermediate Supreme Martial Artist. In the Supreme Martial Artist realm, he had advanced by a small realm, but Night Sorrow's strength had increased greatly. After successfully advancing, Night Sorrow looked at Baime Sanrin and said, "Brother, it was worth it to spend these 600 years. My strength has increased by about 5 times. As for the power of the Divine Spirit, it has increased by about 10 times. Great! The increase of the power of the Divine Spirit is the most important. If the evil spirit behind the scenes wants to possess you, your power of the Divine Spirit will play a crucial role." Baime Sanrin and Night Sorrow were completely on the same boat. When he heard that Night Sorrow's strength had increased greatly, he was also happy. It is indeed very important. We have spent so many years in the ancient tomb. We should hurry up. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he put Baime Sanrin, Little 7, Little 9, and the rest into the spatial grotto heaven. He continued to move forward and look for the evil spirit guarding the 100 Spirits sect. A few days later, he found it in a lair. It was an evil spirit with a human body and an eagle head. The aura of this evil spirit was almost at the half-step Heavenly Supreme level, giving people an extremely strong sense of oppression. Seeing Night Sorrow enter the lair, it roared, "If I wasn't trapped in the lair by Master, I would have gone out and killed you long ago. How could I allow you to be so impudent there? Looks like you're much stronger than the other evil spirits. At least your consciousness is clearer." Night Sorrow sized up the evil spirit in front of him and felt that it was not simple. Although it was overflowing with murderous aura, it gave people the feeling that it was in control. It was not like the other evil spirits that had been completely enslaved by the murderous aura. What's the use of consciousness? What I need is power, and you're a great supplement for me. The evil spirit with a human body and an eagle head roared again. It flapped the wings on its back and flew into the air. It spat out a mouthful of purple flames at Night Sorrow. "Dragon of Virtue, out!" Night Sorrow roared and flew into the air. He held the golden heavenly halberd in his hand and immediately shot out the Dragon of Virtue. It bombarded the purple flames that the evil spirit spat out. At the same time, he waved the golden heavenly halberd and shot out the fiery demon, subduing flames. He let the phoenix flames burn the entire sky. Ignorant, do you think that I am afraid of flames like those low-level evil spirits? You are so wrong. The Dragon of Virtue successfully dissolved the purple flames of the evil spirit. However, the phoenix flames that Night Sorrow shot out were directly swallowed by the evil spirit. After swallowing it, the evil spirit smiled maliciously and said, "Pure, it is a great supplement for me. Continue to release the flames, or I will eat you alive. Bastard, watch me smash your bird head." Night Sorrow did not expect that the flames that he shot out would be swallowed by the evil spirit as a supplement. He was a little angry. He immediately activated the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique. After advancing to the intermediate supremacy level, he could already use the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique to the fullest. After increasing his strength, Knight Sorrow shot out the divine finger at the evil spirit. Although this move was not as powerful as the divine spear, it was faster. Knight Sorrow's finger pierced through one of the evil spirit's wings before it could react, causing it to cry out in pain. "You have hurt me." After its wings were pierced through by the divine finger, the evil spirit immediately became furious. Its body also emitted an endless amount of black gas. Clan M. Chapter 3090. This black gas was 100 times stronger than the killing aura of the other evil spirits. Knight Sorrow had been affected for hundreds of years, even though he had the power of merit protecting his body. He felt extremely uncomfortable. Knight Sorrow thought to himself, "Looks like I have to end this battle quickly. If this drags on for too long, I'm afraid my mind will be affected." The corrosion of the evil aura in front of him was too severe. When he fought, he felt that his mind was very irritable. If he did not suppress it with all his might, he would have gone completely crazy. "You won't live for more than 2 hours." The evil spirit that had completely released the black gas no longer took the initiative to attack after the black gas took effect. Instead, it was locked in a stalemate with Knight Sorrow. It was prepared to let the black gas naturally corrode Knight Sorrow. He would become a walking corpse that could not control himself. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow smiled and said, "You won't live for more than 20 breaths." After saying this, Knight Sorrow took out the fire beacon smoke diagram and summoned Little 7 and Little 9. He asked the two of them to help attack the evil spirit in front of him. Then, he used the Divine Vitality trapping array on the evil spirit and used the Qingxian Divine Spear technique. Under the situation where he was extremely irritable, he launched a crazy attack on it. In the beginning, the evil spirit thought that Knight Sorrow had become so arrogant because he was affected by the black gas. After fighting for a while, it realized that this was Knight Sorrow's intention. Yishan wanted to kill him instantly in the midst of the storm. "You want to kill me in less than 20 breaths? Your way of thinking is too childish." The eagle-headed evil spirit realized what Yishan wanted to do and immediately laughed sinisterly. His laughter was, in fact, the terrifying cry of a ghost. It made people shudder when they heard it. However, this did not affect Knight Sorrow's mind at all. At this moment, Knight Sorrow only had one thought in his mind. That was to quickly kill the evil spirit in front of him. He knew that the longer he waited, the more obvious the corrosion of the black gas would be. Then, even if he could leave 100 Spirits sect, he would be greatly affected when he fought with the evil spirit behind the scenes. Dying. Under the situation where the evil spirit with a human body and an eagle head was on the defensive, Knight Sorrow performed the Qingxian Godly Spear technique and continuously used the Godly Finger. This level of attack was already the craziest attack he had ever launched. It was as if he had used all of his strongest attacks. He's clearly just an intermediate exalt. Why is his attack so powerful? The eagle-headed evil spirit that was fighting Knight Sorrow was astonished when Knight Sorrow completely unleashed his power. At the same time, he summoned a robe from the space grotto heaven. After the robe was summoned, it immediately covered an area of 1,000 feet around him. From the looks of it, it was like an additional layer of protection. Break! Facing the protective layer summoned by the evil spirit, Knight Sorrow directly used the golden heavenly halberd to unleash the divine spear and penetrated it. With its defenses penetrated, the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit instantly panicked. He didn't expect Knight Sorrow's attack to reach such a level. There was no way he could block such an attack. At this moment, the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit began to think about its various methods. After thinking for a while, it suddenly exploded all the black feathers on its wings, turning them into black gas. With the addition of the black gas, Night Sorrow, who was already affected by the black gas, suddenly felt even more uncomfortable. His eyes, which were originally clear and bright, turned red in the blink of an eye. His whole person also became even more manic. No, I have to kill him in an instant. Otherwise, this murderous aura will make me lose my mind. Night Sorrow knew that this black gas was getting more and more terrifying. It was already so terrifying that it could penetrate his power of merit defense. Therefore, the battle with this human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit must not be dragged on. At the crucial moment, Night Sorrow began to burn his own bloodline, increasing his strength by another step. Then, it merged with the golden heavenly halberd. Suddenly, it bombarded the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit. This move, Night Sorrow combined the essence of many unique skills. It was fast, accurate, ruthless, and stable. The human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit had no way to dodge at all. Realizing that this move was too fast to dodge, the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit immediately activated a defensive secret treasure on its body at the same time as it attacked, wanting to defend against this attack. However, all of this was futile. Night Sorrow, who had advanced to middle-level supreme martial artist, the attack power now was not something it could resist at all. Using the method of breaking all techniques with one force, it directly pierced through its chest. After piercing through the evil spirit's chest, Night Sorrow did not give a chance to recover or escape at all. He continued to attack fiercely like a storm. Under his incomparably crazy attacks, the black gas around the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit became fainter and fainter. In the end, it gradually lost its resistance and turned into golden power of merit. After absorbing the power of merit of the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit, Night Sorrow's power of merit advanced to lower-level supreme martial artist as he wished. It was almost catching up to his cultivation. This was his greatest gain in the ancient tomb in front of him. It was even greater than the advancement of his cultivation. Purified. After Night Sorrow killed the human-bodied, eagle-headed evil spirit, he began to use the power of merit to purify the black gas around his body. Although the evil spirit just now was not as strong as him in terms of strength, that kind of black gas was very deadly. After purifying the black gas, Night Sorrow said worriedly, "The evil spirit in front of us in the Lark sect is already so terrifying with the black gas around him. When we leave the Lark sect and fight fiercely with the evil spirit behind the scenes, what kind of black gas will he release? We'll deal with it when the time comes. Anyway, when the time comes, we'll fight side by side. Let's strive to completely kill the evil spirit behind the scenes." After Night Sorrow recovered, Baimei Sanren said. Beside him, Chun Xingyun sighed and said, "It's a pity that my strength is too weak. Otherwise, I would definitely do my part. It's good that you have the heart. The evil spirit behind the scenes is too strong. When he fights, you can't even stand steadily." Baimei Sanren said with a smile. He knew how terrifying a heavenly sovereign was. Although the evil spirit behind the scenes was not a true heavenly sovereign, his strength had already surpassed that of a half-step heavenly sovereign. He was also a very terrifying existence. The evil spirit in front of us is already so difficult to deal with. The one behind the scenes must be even more difficult to deal with. I want to deduce a unique skill here. Then, we'll leave the Lark sect. At this time, Night Sorrow said again. He then continued, "As for you guys, you can look around the Lark sect and see if you can find any opportunities. Now, for us, anything that can increase our strength is very important." "Okay, let's go and look around." Baimei Sanren immediately replied. The space in front of them was pitch black. They had fought all the way here and had not properly looked around to see what was around them. Chapter 3091. He had fought his way through the 100 Spirits sect and finally killed his way out. Even the last guardian had been killed by him. Night Sorrow felt that there should be no more dark creatures here. Although the darkness was still there, the fog and the darkness had dissipated and would no longer corrode their souls. It should be fine for them to search for something. As for White-Brow Wanderer and Chun Xingyun, they had left Yishang's position and were in the Hundred Spirits sect. They held fluorescent stones in their hands and relied on the weak light to slowly search in the darkness. Both of them were rather nervous. Thus, they were more cautious as they walked, and their speed was very slow. Even so, in the end, the two of them still searched the entire Hundred Spirits sect. This was because Night Sorrow had used 30 years to deduce the unique skill. They found that the Hundred Spirits sect was actually in the shape of a door. However, there was no big exit at the bottom, and it was sealed. Night Sorrow's position was at that point, which was the only exit. As for opportunities, they did not find anything. However, they found a few stone carvings on the stone wall of the Hundred Spirits sect. Bai Mei Sanren and Chun Qingyun did not understand what was going on with these 5 stone carvings. They had been waiting for Night Sorrow. They waited for Night Sorrow to walk out of the state of deducing the unique skill. Bai Mei Sanren immediately said, "Brother Night Sorrow, have you been able to deduce the unique skill in the past few decades? It has been rather smooth. I have gained quite a lot. However, I am afraid that it will not be easy to fight against the evil spirit behind the scenes." Night Sorrow said truthfully. In the past 30 years, he had been deducing the unique skill of movement and strengthening his spiritual soul. He knew that if the evil spirit behind the scenes wanted to possess him and his spiritual soul was not strong enough, it was likely that he would be successfully possessed. However, he did not have a suitable spiritual soul secret skill. Hence, he did not gain much. As for the unique skill of movement, he had gained experience from the Xian Tian secret shadow and some of the movement skills that he had mastered. He deduced the Xian Tian 8 steps that was suitable for him. When he executed the 8 steps of mysterious heaven, Night Sorrow would appear like 8 illusory figures in the eyes of others, making it impossible to tell which was the real one. Under his control, the 8 illusory figures were able to scatter freely, making it difficult for others to determine which one was the real one. This was the escape plan Night Sorrow had prepared for himself. When he encountered the evil spirit behind the scenes, if the evil spirit was too strong, then he would try his best to avoid fighting it. He would scatter into 8 figures and flee on his own, hoping to escape the evil spirit's pursuit. On the other hand, Bai Mei Sanren heard from Night Sorrow that the derivation of the secret art was going smoothly. After congratulating him, he continued, "Qingyun and I found 5 sets of time in the Hundred Spirits sect. We don't know what they are. Do you want to go and take a look?" "Fifth Vice Captain." "Good. I'll go take a look." Then, Night Sorrow brought Little 7, Little 9, the restriction breaker hammer, Bai Mei Sanren, and Qin Qingyun to the first painting. This stone inscription was very simple. It was a very primitive pattern. There were flowers, birds, fish, and insects carved on it. In the beginning, Night Sorrow did not see any clues. However, after he activated the sea serpent's eye, he immediately realized that this stone inscription was not simple. When he used the sea serpent's eye to look at it, he realized that the flowers, birds, fish, and insects on the stone had come alive. They swam around the stone wall, forming marks one after another. "What is this? It looks like an array diagram." Night Sorrow observed quietly for about 2 hours before the flowers, birds, fish, and insects completely stopped. He realized that the things outlined by the flowers, birds, fish, and insects looked like array diagrams. However, the diagram was incomplete, so he could not see any clues. Hence, he said, "Take me to the next stone inscription." "All right, let's go." Chun Xingyun replied to Night Sorrow and led Night Sorrow and Bai Mei Sanren towards the next stone inscription he had discovered. When he arrived at this stone inscription, Night Sorrow saw the same scene again. However, the array diagram that appeared was completely different. The two did not seem to be directly related. Next one. Then, Night Sorrow went to look at the remaining 3 paintings. After he finished looking at them, he copied everything he saw on the ground and tried to combine them like a puzzle. After more than 6 years of deliberation, Night Sorrow finally pieced the 5 paintings together perfectly. When the 5 paintings were pieced together, headless cows immediately appeared. These 5 oxen were not ordinary water buffaloes, but 5 extremely handsome oxen. They gave off a very powerful feeling. However, Night Sorrow could not tell what use they had. Hence, he spoke to Baimei Sanrin and Chen Qingyan. If you don't know what it's used for, then set it up and try it out. After Night Sorrow finished talking about the array diagram, Baimei Sanrin immediately said with a smile. He also said that he was willing to be a test subject. After the array was completed, he was willing to enter it and try it out. That's right, Brother Yi. Try setting it up and you'll know everything. Chen Qingyun also echoed and said that as long as he had the materials, he would contribute them. After they finished speaking, Little 7, Little 9, and the restriction breaking hammer all agreed with him setting it up. All right. Since you all say so, then I'll try to set up this array. After everyone finished speaking, Night Sorrow felt that setting up the array was not difficult anyway, so he decided to give it a try. Then, with everyone's help, he set up the array diagram. When the array diagram was set up, Baimei Sanrin immediately said, I'm going in. After I enter, immediately activate the array. Let's see what happens. All right, if there are any abnormalities, just tell me. I'll immediately stop the array, Night Sorrow said and gestured to Baimei Sanrin. Then, Baimei Sanrin walked into the array. I'm activating it. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the array was immediately activated. The 5 oxen that had appeared before appeared again. What are these 5 oxen doing? Are they going to attack Brother Baimei? Chen Qingyun, who was watching from the side, said doubtfully. Baimei Sanrin, who was in the array, had been in a trance. He could feel that the 5 oxen in front of him were not ordinary. Moo, 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 moo. Just as Baimei Sanrin was alerted, the 5 oxen immediately cried out. In an instant, Baimei Sanrin felt his divine ocean tremble. His divine soul was about to be shattered, and he could not even send a voice transmission. He immediately gestured to Night Sorrow to indicate that he could not withstand the sound wave attack. Brother, you seem to be injured. Seeing Baimei Sanrin's abnormal expression, Night Sorrow immediately stopped the array. He asked with concern, Brother, how are you? Are you okay? If you had stopped it a little later, I would have been in trouble. The cries of these 5 oxen are a very powerful divine soul attack. I can't withstand it at all, Baimei Sanrin said with a pale face. At this moment, he could still feel his divine soul trembling. Clan M, you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.